Hargraves and Devon Stack.
Hey, my thing's not working
Welcome.
again.
Oh, come on.
I know. It's this is what happens when the power goes out several times in a short period of time. Like my computer starts doing weird stuff.
Oh, man, that
That's
sucks.
all
I don't know
right.
how you possibly have managed this.
Hey, look
And
at
your
that.
stream on Sunday was so great.
Oh, thank you very much.
What
It
a
was
great stream.
it would have been better because the same thing. Like I kind of had to rush it because my power was out all day. Well, beginning middle of the day, Saturday, all night, and into Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Fuck!" Well, I still need to do a stream, and so I was able to put something together for Sunday night, but then the power went out again
Oh, no.
yesterday, and then and every time the power goes out, the well goes out too, and which is fine for me, but there's an older couple that's on the same well that I'm on, and they have horses, and so I'm out
Oh.
there like trying to make sure that because I'm watching their horses form right now,
Yeah.
and so I have to make sure their horses aren't like dying out there in the fucking heat and
That's
all
so
this other
nice of
stuff.
you
And
to take care of your elderly neighbor's horses.
well, someone's got to do it, But
Oh, no. Devon's actually a good guy. I'm going to ruin your reputation.
no, I'm all right. I'm a nice guy.
It's
But
like a
yeah,
lot of these horses, but I'd kill everybody if I could. Just
Oh,
the
yeah.
people that deserve it.
oh yeah, well, I would definitely kill lots of people given the opportunity, but the horses are innocent.
Oh, man. Oh, Devin, before we get started, I got to tell you what happened at the park this week. This shocking thing happened at the park. I don't want to overstate this, but I had my little whippet puppy, and there
Your
were these
whippet
twin
puppy.
boys.
Okay.
Yeah, her name's Poppy. She's the best. And one of the boys was petting Poppy, and then he looked at me and he goes, "Is this AI?" Like totally seriously. And his brother was like, "No, what are you talking about, man?" 7 years old, a 7-year-old kid, legitimately. I don't think he was trolling me. Asked me if my in real life dog, was AI.
Like it walked like, wow, that's terrifying. It's funny because like years ago, one of my friends had it was like the first friend to have kids, right?
Yeah.
And this is when iPads were first starting to become like a thing, and little kids were getting like addicted to touch screens. We didn't grow up with touch screens, and he
Right.
said that he was watching his kid, and the kid walked up to the TV and started like touching the TV and trying to swipe things on the TV, and he was like, "Oh no, what's happened?" But this is a million times worse. A kid
Oh,
walking
yeah.
up to like a real life
Yeah.
dog and thinking it could be AI. What
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of
I was
mental
like,
illness
what?
is that going to cause? I
I
wonder.
was like, what? How is that even possible? So it made me think about like reality testing in
By the
children.
way, you got to back off your mic just a little. Well, not because it's too hot, but because you're popping because you don't have your pop filter yet.
Sorry.
That's all right. Keep going.
It just makes me think about reality testing and kids and like differentiating between AI and reality. I mean, the thing that was shocking about that, because it wasn't a video. It's like he was petting
Right.
my dog was like licking him in the face and stuff. And I was like, what the fuck is happening here? Like what? I couldn't even I've been thinking about it all day. Like, how does this happen? And the kid was 7, he wasn't 3.
All right, back off your mic just a little bit more.
Oh, God damn
it! you're like. Actually, you can't even hear it on mine because I think I have an AI filter that kills that stuff. It just makes it silent.
Oh my God, we're so cooked.
You need
So
to get yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. There will come a time. I mean, because think about it. That's kind of like. Have you ever read the book that Blade Runner is based on?
Robots, or what is
It's
it
something
called?
about Dream, Electric Sheep, or I don't remember the name
Yeah,
of it.
yeah, yeah,
Something.
yeah. No, I haven't.
But I started
Do
reading it once.
robots dream of electric sheep?
I think that might be it. Something like that. I didn't finish it. I started reading it once and then I got distracted. But the beginning scene, and they sort of touch on this in the movie, is, everyone has synthetic animals, and it's really rare, and it's like a status symbol to have like a real animal. And so like they like the opening scene is some guy. It's almost like it kind of has the vibe of American Psycho, where
Yeah.
this guy's obsessed with his status, and he's obsessing about whether or not the neighbors are going to find out that his sheep is like a fake, synthetic sheep and not like a real sheep. And because it's like a status symbol that even though it's a sheep, it's, just the fact that it's an animal for some reason. And again, I don't know where it goes from there because I didn't really read much of the book afterwards. But in the movie, it's kind of the same thing, right? Like they have like these weird Japanese people making like fake snakes and shit like that. But I'm assuming, I mean, the inference is that the reason why it's so rare is because there's been some kind of mass extinction on the earth, probably because of global warming or something, And so if you can somehow get one of these, like every species is endangered. So if you can have anything, then it's like, it's like having like a unicorn. And I almost do wonder if maybe not necessarily that kind of a scenario, but if pets, for example, will start like just being like really complicated Tamagotchis, and like kids like that little kid will be the one like that tries to invent it because that kid's like, I remember when I was a kid and I saw a dog and I thought it was AI and I thought maybe why not I make an AI dog? And
Oh no. Excuse me.
and so it's not out, it's well, think of it this way, just think of all the robots they are making, and while they're crude and they get excited over little things like, oh look, this robot can pick up a soda can without crushing it and stuff like that, and they think they've made some big leap. If you think about just maybe 20 years ago, like those little robots that were basically about as useless as like R2D2 if you strapped a drink tray to his chest. Like a Roomba, like a glorified Roomba. Now, while none of us have one of these domestic robots yet, and it's probably like a decade off before that's even really a real thing, it's not inconceivable that we'll have AI dogs.
I don't know. Maybe he's really smart.
What, your
That
dog?
didn't occur to me. Yeah, I don't know. She's a weird dog.
What, the kid's dog, or the kid is really smart, is what you're saying?
No, my dog's retarded. The kid maybe he's really smart or something.
No, probably not. Not if you thought like a real dog was AI. No, not at all. That's
Okay,
just
okay.
that
I'm just trying-
that kid is terminally online, is probably going to be a school shooter at some point. If you think he can't tell the difference between reality and AI already.
Oh, I know. He was an identical twin too. I was like, what is happening?
Oh,
right
there's
now?
two of them? Okay, this
Yeah.
is going to be one of the bloodiest mass shootings in America's history in about 5 to 10 years. Just, keep your eyes peeled. That kid should be on a watch list, like that's like the one instance where like I'm okay with a surveillance state is to stop kids like that. Like the
Dude.
FBI should definitely be all up in that kid's DMs.
Well, consequently, we have an entire stream about fucked up kids.
Yeah. Crazy
that.
kids who also should have been, removed.
I watched
from
this
the earth.
documentary, this HBO documentary, like, I don't know, 6 months ago, something like that, called Six Schizophrenic Brothers. And I put it in
Clever
the
name, by
notes.
the way. When you
I
told
know.
me the name of that, I was like, "That's really? That's the title? It's about six schizophrenic brothers, and they just called it that? Like, come on."
Yeah. Like, I can imagine the pitch room on that one. They're exhausted. They've been up for 6 hours pitching a name, and they're like, let's just fucking call it Six
Just call it Six
Schizophrenic Brothers.
Kids.
It's fine.
Psycho
But
kids.
I had this on my list to send to you for Insomnia stream, and then we started doing the stream, and I was like, I don't know, we should table this because of the anti-Catholic angle. I wasn't ready yet.
It's not
And
super
then-
anti-Catholic so much.
Oh,
Like,
come on! These people were insane SSPX Catholics, and I think that this contributed to the problem.
well, certainly with like the weird, we'll get into that in a second, but there was definitely that aspect to it. But yeah, and the whole Irish Catholic thing, just the
Yeah.
stereotype of having the billion kids, and and all that stuff. But yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
guess.
think I'm ready. I'm ready. This is the story that just keeps on giving. I'm so excited that we're covering it. It did take a little schmoozing to get Devin on board, just a little, and then he got on board. So I'm pleased.
Yes, it's kind of a crazy story in more ways than one. Kind of a
It's
crazy
wild. I
story.
mean, they learned a lot from this family, which is the only good thing that came out of this. Can you pull up this picture of the parents? Very good-looking parents with secretly terrible genetics.
All right, let's see here. Da, 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 da.
So these are Don Galvin and Mimi Blaney. She was Protestant. He got her to convert. He was trad cath. They're both born in the 20s. And then when she's 20 years old, she gets
Oh, you're popping
knocked
again.
up.
You gotta
She gets knocked up.
back that mic up. Back it up.
Okay,
Back it up.
okay. More?
Yeah, it's a microphone, not a glass of wine. Just keep it, safe distance.
Okay, well, that's fine. So she gets knocked up and they have some kind of shotgun wedding in Tijuana before he ships out.
Hold on. I got a good picture of that too. There we go.
And she really wants to be a homemaker. It's one of those knocked up situations where, is this AI? It's got to be.
Yeah.
Okay. Is this AI?
You're like that kid now.
I'm the kid. I know. She wanted to be a homemaker. It kind of worked out. And he was very ambitious businessman. So in 1945, their first child, Donald, is born in Queens. And then they have 12 successive children. Next, they get Jim in 1947. Then they get John, 49. Brian, 51. Robert, 53. Dick, that's 54. Joseph in 56. Mark.
Did you notice, as I did, that Joseph seems a little Mexican?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
And
Maybe she
I'm
went
not
back to Tijuana.
Well, I'm just saying, like, if you look at even when in their group photos, it's like
He's a little brown.
Yeah, he's a little brown and significantly darker than all the rest of the kids, and he looks
Yeah.
a little different, like
Yeah,
a little,
yeah.
but okay.
They're all really Irish looking, except for him.
Except for him. No, he's the Black Irish.
He's yeah. Then we get Matthew in 58, Peter in 60, and then Margaret Elizabeth. And then there's another girl after that.
Hold on, you're
She's a falcon.
you're going out of order of the script.
Sorry. Okay.
All right.
So they move after this to a giant house in Colorado Springs.
Hold on, I'm all messed up now because you're like going crazy with stuff here with that's not following the script here. All right. So what happened was, unless that picture's out of, oh yeah, why do I have crazy guy here?
Which one is that, Donald?
That's Donald later, but I don't know why he's here. All right. Well, we'll go back to him.
That's Margaret Elizabeth. Okay. What's the next one? Is the next one the house?
This is the area. This is like
There they go.
Yeah.
That's Hidden Valley Road, and the awesome neighborhood that they moved to in Woodman Valley in around Colorado Springs. So the father was a weird guy. He was a strong, silent type. They were really into elite culture in Colorado Springs, and so he became obsessed with falconry. He worked as Cold War intelligence, and then he taught political science at the Air Force Academy. But the falconry, that was his most visible achievement. I guess back in the day, this was a huge sign of status because it required all of these permits, like special government permits, and you had to know people to get them. And it was just like a really elite hobby. It was like super tennis for the rich.
And as much as like I see this, and I was surprised to hear this, like, because the way it was described in some of the people writing about this was that the wife was very disappointed that they had to move to Colorado because it was like too podunk for her taste. Like she was like this, she had fancy taste. And that one of the things that she liked about going to Colorado was the fact that he had like birds. And I'm just like, really? That fancied it up for you, huh? Like your husband came home covered in bird shit? Like that was
Yeah, she
That's
was really pissed that they had to move because she had all these mink coats and she's like, I'm not even going to be able to wear them in Colorado Springs. So she was famously overdressed for every occasion. She would just like wear her minks because she's like, fucking Colorado. I could be in New York right now. But they lived in Queens. So it's like, you guys weren't like Manhattan elite and you get to be Colorado Springs elite. So, what does it matter? But yeah, he became some kind of like famous Falcon guy in Colorado
well, no,
Springs.
and apparently that got him notoriety. I mean, several people writing about this said that like that made him like a big man on campus somehow at the Air Force Academy.
Yeah,
Oh, it's
yeah.
the Falcon guy, and I guess the Falcon was like their mascot. I don't know. It just seemed so like ridiculous.
Bizarre. Yeah,
Yeah,
really, really weird.
the
Um,
Birdman.
s- the Birdman of Colorado Springs. So he had been raised a devout Catholic, and he got Mimi to convert because he was shacking up with some Protestant, and he's like, okay. And so she, wanted to have a big family, and so she thought that it would legitimize them in their elite circle. So she became a devout Catholic. From everything that I read, though, it seems like she was really a believer. Um,
Yes.
and she had this priest instructor as part of the SSPX church. This guy, clearly sus physiognomy right there. His name, Father Robert Freudenstein. And I did some background checking on this guy because I'm like, converso. And his family moved turn of the century. They were Jewish converts. They moved to Montana. And he was deeply involved in SSPX life. Jewish convert, that guy. Think Freudenstein. There were signs. I sent that to you.
Yeah, Freud. That name is a little much. It's like I don't think you can get a Jewier name than Freudenstein.
And so she became incredibly devoted to the Catholic cause, and he was something of her Catholic mentor. And so she would leave the kids with him because she thought that he was almost like a family member. He seemed like one of those charismatic priests, like the Sopranos priests that like really embedded himself into the family. And
Yeah,
she felt like he was sophisticated and avant-garde and he was
he would bring opera
literary.
records to her, and
Right. And so because she thought he was high class and she was obsessed with status, much to her detriment. She allowed this Jewish converso to embed deeply into the lives of her young sons. You can imagine what happened after that.
you keep breathing into it.
Oh my God. I have to breathe, Devon. Okay, here.
Yeah,
Take
not
take
so
over for the
heavily.
next few lines and
That's
I'll
probably
figure
far
it
enough
out.
away. Well, I'll tell you the long story short, because she wanted to be part of the status hierarchy, and there wasn't really a whole lot of options in Colorado Springs. She leaned heavily into the church hierarchy, and she
Mhm.
knew that if you were friends with the priest, those who were friends with the priest were considered higher up than those who weren't. And also, another status symbol was to crank out a million fucking kids.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what she started doing. Is she started cranking out a million kids, and as you said, unfortunately gave access or gave this priest access to her kids, and he allegedly because I don't think charges were ever brought. Although, well, we'll get into the like. There's an aspect. Let me put it this way: credibly, although allegedly, credibly, he molested her oldest son, Donald, repeatedly
Ye-
for
yes.
years.
And from reading between the lines, it sounds like it was full on anal rape. Like it
Right.
wasn't like a little diddling. It sounds like he like really really went for it with Donald like many times over the course of several years. But she just cared so much about pedigree and about status that she was willing to put her kids into this crazy situation because she was disappointed in the work performance of her husband. I think he had like a few failed business ventures. It wasn't that a big of a deal. He was still earning. They were able to live this lavish life. I think that she had like a lake made put in their backyard and had like imported bass and things. Like they were doing fine. Like they were not impoverished. It was fine. But she wanted that Manhattan elite status. And she thought that because she couldn't get it from her husband's job, that she was going to have to get it from the church, which was in good standing in a big part of the community. So yeah. Donald, let's talk about Donald. This crazy picture of Donald, if you can find that again.
The crazy one that I that I have is, let's see here. Boom, boom, boom. Well, here's I have a progression. Here's him not as crazy yet.
That's not crazy Donald?
Oh no, wait, that's crazy college Donald. We go to the high school crazy Donald is this one. Yeah.
There he is. Yeah. So I kind of think this is bullshit, because they say that none of these signs really emerged with Donald until the early 60s. So as he's graduating high school, things like that. He was super athletic and popular and charismatic. But Donald was like, it wasn't normal roughhousing in their family. He was beating the ever-loving shit out of Jim in particular, and some of the other boys. And it was like, yeah, his little brother Jim. And it wasn't like, they were pushing. It was like he's making him eat dirt, and he
was making him eat cat shit.
Oh yeah, and then just like horrible, like really torturous stuff. He had a history of erratic behavior. He wasn't hearing voices at this point or anything like that, but he had a history of erratic behavior when he was a young child. All of the six did. But back in the day, mental illness was not seen in the same way as it is today. We'll talk about this later, but there wasn't this culture of understanding mental illness. It was like a highly shameful event in a family, and unless you were really fucking crazy, people tended to bury it under the rug. So they were just like, boys will be boys, and the parents were just completely in denial. Okay, now we can talk about Mary Christine. There we go. There we go. So she's the youngest one, and she's born in 1965. So it looks like they were having kids over 22 years.
Yeah, she was basically pregnant like most of the time after they got married. Well, actually, before they got married.
Yeah,
she was mostly pregnant almost all. I mean, like there was like 6 month. I mean, not for lack of trying, I'm sure. Little spots between pregnancies, but I mean, it's crazy. Like she was just constantly pumping them out. So.
No, that's the second to last one. Mary Christine is the
you're right.
Blonde one.
Sorry, there's 12 of them. There's just so many fucking kids.
The father famously just called them by number at a certain point. After like 6,
yeah,
you just
I should have numbered these
number
pictures.
9, get in here. 9, stop fighting with 3, and she later changes her name to Lindsay, so this might get a little confusing there. Lindsay, remember that, because we have some testimony from her, I believe. All right, let's get back to Donald in his college years.
All right,
so Donald.
Now he's in college. Look at now he's
in college.
Very stern looking.
Yeah, and he's going to student health frequently. He's talking about horrible anxiety, and he's confused. He has some physical complaints. He says he's having frightening thoughts. He's becoming unpredictable. And when he comes home from college on a visit, he thinks that people are coming to get him. That they're following him. He's making these complaints that, any parent should be like, what? He's still not hearing voices, but he's behaving really strangely, like a psycho. And then he moves into the root cellar, which doesn't have any running water. He runs through a fire at some point, a bonfire. It's stuff.
Well, and here's the thing: you made it sound less crazy. He didn't move into the parents' root cellar. He moved into someone else's root cellar with no water or any like toilet or anything. Yeah, like he was like paying rent for a root cellar and just living.
And then the parents are like, okay, like this is this is
no
normal.
big deal.
He was trying to get help at this point. I mean, he was telling them, like I'm having major mental issues. He joins the Air Force. Go ahead.
But then when every time that there was an attempt to institutionalize him, because it was obvious that he was fucking nuts, his father would step in and use his Air Force connections to make it so he wouldn't have to come in. Like, this is a letter here. It says This letter comes in reply to your request for a summary of our psychiatric evaluation of the above-named military dependent. Mr. Galvin was interviewed by the undersigned on 4 occasions, one of which included a sodium amytal interview. Like, I guess that's a truth serum
Truth serum?
interview. Our findings showed no evidence of a serious thinking disorder nor symptoms secondary to a psychotic process. We did discover a number of emotional conflicts which I feel are disturbing enough to Mr. Galvin to account for his erratic behavior while at school. It is my considered opinion that Mr. Galvin can function in the academic setting at CSU. However, I feel his emotional problems are serious enough to warrant making his readmission contingent upon further psychiatric help. And so, like, they basically, we'll keep an eye on him was basically the strategy, even though there were people that are like, nah, dude, like, he needs to be locked up. Like, this guy is a danger to himself and others.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So obviously they should have allowed him to be institutionalized, but they didn't want to deal with the social stigma.
Right.
So they were just bending backwards to try to avoid admitting that this was some kind of genetic problem. And this wasn't a really sign of the times. I think that this was a reversion or some kind of counteraction because of the bad press from the eugenics movement. I mean, people knew about genetics by this time.
Right.
It's not like this was totally unexamined science. And then in the 20s and the 30s, they knew a lot about genetics and eugenics. And they really understood that. So I think that people were so like, ooh, naughty, that they were just talking about how these are emotional problems, they're environmental problems, things like that.
Well, also, you got to think about that's why the family's covering it up, because they have this image of this perfect family. They've got 12 fucking kids. The husband's career is going well, and they live in like the commissioned officer block of the neighborhood, and there's like this whole status thing that they're trying to maintain. And part of that status, and I believe a legitimate part of that status, is an appreciation of your family genetics, your pedigree, your breeding, as they used to say. And if it starts to get out that you are producing crazy people, that looks bad on it's. I mean, they didn't call it genetics, but that looks bad on your stock. People would start to judge you because that kid came from you. And by the way, they should judge you. I mean, maybe not on some moral level necessarily, but like they should judge people based on genetic qualities to some extent. And
the irony of this is that the mother, Mimi, tries to rationalize what she knows is important, the genetic behavior, through environmental and emotional factors. So like she really does know that it matters that her kids are fucked up.
Now, don't get me wrong, because there's probably people out there going, well, hold on a second. He's obviously crazy because the weird Jew priest was fucking him in the ass for years. All right, that didn't make it worse. I'm sure that made it infinitely worse. Okay, but we have evidence that shows that this is in fact genetic. It's not he's not a one-off case. We got a lot of data to work with 12 kids. So let's just put it that way.
We do indeed. That's why this case is so fascinating. In the mid 60s, he becomes obsessed with cats, and he's always covered in like cat bites and scratches
because he's fucking with cats.
Because he's trying with cats. Yeah,
he's trying to fucking hurt cats, is what it is.
Yeah. Apparently, in the family history, he had killed and I think dismembered a cat.
He killed a cat and dismembered a cat in the fucking bathtub. He drowned a cat. He threw a cat in a fire. I mean, there were lots of stories of, and it's like immediately death penalty. Okay. Like, no, seriously, like immediately death penalty.
Sorry, kid.
Like if you're killing, like if I saw a kid torturing an animal, you need to put there's no fixing that, because I think back to my childhood, and like, I can't imagine a scenario where I would think it would be funny or amusing, or even like curiosity would get the better of me, where I would have to like hurt an animal.
Yeah.
And I was not a good kid. And so if like I'm that was like way beyond the pale for me. And I mean, like, that's unrelatably way beyond the pale. Any kid that's doing that, that's serial killer shit. You got to put that kid down. You got to put him down.
Yep. It was really bad. And this is kind of the tip of the iceberg. I mean, by the late 60s, he had gotten into the religious stage of schizophrenia. You see this a lot with schizophrenics where they have God complex.
I told you he gets progressively crazier. But this matches reality, like, or at least descriptions of him.
So one time they came into the house and all of the furniture was in the backyard. He's doing all this religious stuff. He thinks he's a prophet. He's relating everything to the Bible. He's preaching the Bible. He dresses up in priest robes. He has like spiritual sessions, and some of them involve nudity, and he's wearing weird religious garb all the time. I think it was like monk robes. That's what he was actually wearing.
Yeah, he was making monk robes out of like sheets and stuff, and like going to school dressed as a monk. And here's the thing too, you got to remember, this is right in the middle of the 1960s when everyone's just acting like a fucking lunatic, and they're all high on like 5 different narcotics at any given moment. And so some guy showing up like a homeless person, street preacher weirdo, is kind of just par for the course in the 1960s. So like,
Yeah,
that's
but
the
not
other
in their
aspect.
community. They live in this like buttoned up white military community.
Well,
in
not
Colorado
in their
Springs.
community, but I'm talking about like at CSU where he's going to college.
Oh yeah, but he's
Where
walking
is it?
around
Right.
his parents' house like this, and his parents
Right.
are like, "Get it together, Don. Like people can't see you walking around naked. Get your shit together." So it is really messing up the family. But they're also not talking about any of their problems. There are obviously abuse issues within the house amongst the children, like physical abuse that they know about,
Yeah,
and
he's
other stuff. We'll talk about that later.
often beating the shit out of the other kids. He's fighting his mother.
Yeah, but the way that they deal with this as a family is to like put up a Chinese firewall with information delivered to each child. So none of the children really know what's going on. They know what their parents are telling them about Donald. They know what they see, but it's incongruent and it's messing with every single kid. Like they're just acting like nothing is wrong. There's no open communication in the household. The father famously never talked to them about any of this. They're just acting like bro is over here running through fires, living in the cellar, naked under a monk robe, and they're like, it's just Don. It's just Don being Don.
Yeah,
Like no one's talking about it.
he jumped into a bonfire and suffered like 2nd and 3rd degree burns. Like he
Yeah.
tried to emulate or what is it? Emulate? Is
Yeah,
that the
emulate, yeah.
emulate
Yeah.
into a fire? Yeah.
Yeah.
He tried to do the thing, the emulate thing. Yeah.
Yeah. He emulated hard. Yeah. So finally in 67, I think he gets an official diagnosis of schizophrenia. I called Devon right before the show. He's all stressed out. I'm doing some stuff. This is what he was doing. He's like, I got more AI photos of Donald. I got to make him look real crazy. That's excellent.
We have to visually, because there's no way to describe like the just the complete psycho this guy was. Like I mean, he was just so totally insane that no AI hyperbole was going to be too much.
It's so good. But the way, and I saw this with Seattle homeless people a lot, what schizophrenics do, especially with modern medication, although the antipsychotics in the 60s were not super effective, and they were no joke. They cause like major liver and cardiac problems. I think one of the brothers dies from cardiac problems when he's in his 50s because of
Right.
the early antipsychotics that they were on. See, if we had believed in eugenics through the 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s, there would have been better treatments for these things at that time. But we believed all this Freudian bullshit, which we'll also talk about later, that this was environmental. And so nobody cared to do the proper pharmacological examination on what would be effective for schizoaffective disorder and schizophrenia. It's like we put the science back like 40 years because everybody's like Hitler bad. So stupid.
Well, and if we'd
Anyway,
really cracked down on immigration in the 1850s, we wouldn't have these psycho potatoes here in the first place.
the truer words have never been
So,
spoken.
you know,
So I saw this a lot in Seattle. Like schizophrenics would be institutionalized. They'd take their medication. They would experience tremendous improvement in their symptoms, enough to be discharged, and then immediately would go off their medication. And then they would
right.
self-medicate with drugs and alcohol and things like that. And then things, of course, would get really worse. So it becomes this revolving door. If you don't institutionalize schizophrenics and nobody's monitoring their intake of their medication, it becomes a revolving door with worsening psychosis whereby they're self-medicating but not taking antipsychotics. And then they go in, they take the antipsychotics, they're fine, they get discharged, and then they just come back in a few months. And that's what happens with several of the brothers. And I think it was particularly bad for Donald. So like he would be okay for a few weeks, maybe after he got home from the institution. And then it was, something catastrophic would happen. I mean, they had to lock up all the doors and everything like that. It was like an institution in their own home, especially as the brothers started converting.
Which honestly, it leads to the question of like, why do we keep these people around?
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, like I know if it's like your son or whatever, I get it. You know, I feel bad, sort of, but like, so what? Also, I mean, it's like especially because this is genetic, and we'll get into that. But it is heritable. At minimum, we should be sterilizing these people as soon as we find out. And it doesn't matter if the medication, like, oh, but he can be managed with medication. Okay, well, I mean, we have laws against like what if I said, there's a bomb in my front yard, and as long as every day I go out and I push a button at noon, it will never go off. But if I don't do it one day, it'll go off and kill all my neighbors. You think like the city would just be like, that's fine, because I mean, as long as he hits the button, it's fine. It's I
don't think that we should terminate people with mental health issues, but they do need to be at a minimum institutionalized.
Well, I don't think like just line them up, but I mean like in cases where they've done like horrific stuff, yes, like absolutely. Well, just like, but you don't. I mean, I think anyone that's killed should be killed. So, or anyone that's a killer should be killed. So it's not just whether you have a mental illness or not, whatever. But no, but like you should be your family's responsibility, and if your family can't take care of you, then maybe you should be, because like think of it, you don't serve an actual purpose to the society, so why is the society paying the bill to keep you alive? And if the only way that you can survive is if the society pays like a tax every month to like keep you in some room somewhere so that you don't hurt everybody, that seems like a pretty inefficient way of dealing with the problem.
But this isn't a perfect authoritarian society where we're in charge. I mean, what they would do is they would start executing dissidents with anxiety and stuff.
No, but this is no. If you're self-sufficient, then it's not an issue. Like if you're, in other words, the only moment that this becomes like a let's get rid of this guy situation is if, well, A, if he's violent or whatever, obviously, but B, if they can't take care of themselves, because what's the point?
He does end up getting married though to like a very normal looking woman. Her name is Jean. And Mimi.
Boomers had it so good. Boomers had it so you could be like a complete fucking lunatic running around wearing like bed sheets and just quote, like relating everything to random Bible quotes. And you'd still get your trad waifu. Like she'd be like, okay, I'll marry you.
She's pretty.
Well, and she was accomplished too. She was like getting a PhD or something like that when they were going to school.
Yeah. So, that it's the 60s. And so he's like, I run through fires and I am God. And she's like, you want to get married?
That's so disruptive of you.
Yeah, really. Gosh. The mom's still deeply in denial. So she's like, well, maybe this will fix him. It didn't. I hate to jump to the end there, but it doesn't. Are you over here on your computer like make Donald look crazier?
No, I was. It was hard to do because if you tell AI to make someone look crazy, they make them look like cartoon psycho crazy, to where like it's just. So you have to like try to find the right words that dials it up just enough, And I think the prompt for this one was he looks subtly unhinged, and she looks nervous and is glancing at him suspiciously or something like that.
Well done. Well done. Of course, their marriage deteriorates. It becomes totally unstable. I think that there's some abuse there. She pieces out at some point. Um, oh my god, there it is.
At least it's open-handed.
Yeah, really. In the 60s, you can hit your wife with an
Yeah,
open
as long as
hand.
it's not closed fist, it's all
Then
good.
it's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then Jim gets married, and Jim had already been experiencing some signs of
Well,
schizophrenia.
hold on. You're skipping ahead to Jim already?
Jim's next.
No, you missed a couple things.
Look in the outline, Devon.
Yeah, I am on the outline. Look where this picture is in the outline. And then where are you?
Jim marries and has a child.
Yeah, you're like several. We didn't even talk about who Jim is yet.
Nope. 1968. Look at that.
What?
Oh
Jim marries, has a child. Oh, I got the names. There's just too many of them. That's why.
We should have.
There's too many. All right. See that I have the Dawn marriage photo for the Jim marriage thing because there's just too many fucking kids everywhere.
Wait. That's Dawn.
No, that was Dawn. Let me find a picture of Jim. This is Jim.
Yeah. Okay. There's Jim, and by this point, Jim had also been experiencing a litany of mental health issues, not as severe as Dawn. Dawn was the one that had the most severe schizophrenia, but Jim, there were signs. And I think that the parents were ignoring this because they're like, well, maybe he's screwed up because Dawn wailed on him his entire childhood. So despite what has happened with Dawn, and Dawn has a formal schizophrenia diagnosis at this point, the parents still in denial about Jim. They're still in denial about him. It's just incredible. They're just doing the same thing with Dawn. They've learned nothing, and they can continue to ignore these problems until they cannot get any worse. Do you want me to talk about Jim now?
Not yet. We still have we can skip the photo thing, although I think it is for shock value if you want to just see their family.
No, this is important.
Okay.
I know I shouldn't hammer this home because there wasn't a lot of information about schizophrenia out there because of the eugenics issue that I just discussed. But and I saw one where she was actually holding a baby. By this point, you can see how young Lindsay is. By this point, 5 of the brothers had already been exhibiting very serious and troubling evidence of their schizophrenia. So she at least had her last 2 children when it was very obvious that there were mental health issues afoot in at least Dawn. And she just keeps popping out kids. I mean, she was never able to evaluate her whole family and be like, maybe our genetics are not that good and I shouldn't keep having kids. She just didn't have that self-awareness. She wanted the status of having a large traditional Catholic family, and traditional Catholics don't use any birth control. The serious ones, SSPX, they don't use the rhythm method. And she just keeps fucking getting pregnant. She just keeps getting pregnant. I want to have a little discussion about pronatalism at the end, though. All right, what's the next photo that you have?
Right. So this is
Dawn's marriage. Okay,
yeah, this is Dawn's marriage. See, I screwed up because I didn't realize that was Jim because there's so many fucking kids.
So many of them. So there's physical violence in Dawn's marriage. And during an argument, Donald threatens to poison himself and Jean with cyanide. So police come and psychiatric authorities come. And during this, the marriage collapses and Don is taken again. He's 5150 in psychiatric institutional care. But again, his dad gets him out
by saying Donald is being released to his father, who lives in Colorado Springs, Colorado, who plans to set up private psychiatric therapy and continue medications for Donald. Donald is not to return to the Larimer County,
so he can't even come back to the county because of this
banned from a county.
Banned from the county, but there's no. I don't think there's any subsequent criminal investigation or anything like that. He just can't come back to the county.
Right.
But he gets released from institutional care into the care of his parents, who are already denying Jim, who has developed an obvious schizophrenia, which they should have known because Donald had been diagnosed by this point.
Well, and not only that, so I was reading somewhere that Jim had actually received treatment when he was younger. There were some of the siblings said that they remembered that he actually went away to a hospital at one point. And
Really?
yeah. So, but the parents covered it up. So, like, what happened was they actually institutionalized Jim. And then the kid said, like, I forget which sibling, but it was one of the younger ones, said that when he came back, he was different and he didn't seem as scary. And so, and no one ever talked about it. So that while I couldn't find like the actual record of it, according to multiple siblings, the parents sent Jim to an institution when he was younger. So they knew that the first one was Donald was a complete psycho. And they had sent, I mean, Jim must have been, because they sent him to a institution when he was younger. And then, sure, he came out of it.
One of the boys, I can't remember which one. I actually think it might have been Peter, but one of the boys had a really rare early onset schizophrenic breakdown. I think he was like 12, like 11, somewhere between 11 and 14. But normally it
I think that's
manifests in your
I think you're
20s.
talking about the youngest one.
Oh, okay.
I'm
Was it
not
Peter the
positive.
youngest? That's too many fucking kids. Too many
Yeah.
kids. Anyway, so they knew while they were still having kids, is my point, which is horribly unethical. Because even if the science is telling you this is not genetic, like it's it's obviously
Right.
genetic. It's like so many of your kids. You have a case study in your house. You have 12 kids, and 10 of them are boys, and schizophrenia is considerably more common in boys, and you have an official diagnosis. So how at that point can you lie to yourself so much? This is Catholicism. This is because Catholicism thinks that everything is a spiritual problem, and they deny the existence of genetics to a certain degree, which is why we get racial universalism in Catholicism.
They
And I think
were
that
possessed
was,
by demons.
yeah, I think that was so ingrained. You know what they did after Jim was institutionalized and Donald was institutionalized, and it was manifesting, I think, in Peter. They gave all of the boys the book, The Power of Positive Thinking.
That'll cure them.
I know. Can you believe that they did that? It's like they should have been institutionalized, like permanently
Right.
institutionalized. And then they allowed them, despite this history of abuse, to be around the younger children. And knowing what we know about schizophrenia, and they knew some stuff back then, we knew it was male dominated. They allowed all of these schizophrenic older boys, some of them in their
Right.
20s, to be around their young daughters. It's just like the priest thing. It's just, the mom talked a lot about how she feels guilty. I'm like, yeah, well, you should. You should. This was a crazy situation that endangered all of your children. Like, I don't
Well,
have a lot of compassion
if it makes
for
it feel
her.
any better, the thing I was going to mention later was that when she found out about the priest molestation, she renounced Catholicism and did not want a Catholic burial.
Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said for that. But
So she
also,
she figured it out later that like, maybe there was a biological source for this, but much later, once it was too late.
man,
But
is it naivete? I can't imagine that it is.
some
Like,
of
what
it,
kind of
well, I mean,
denial?
some of it is. I mean, you figure she got married when she was pretty, like what, like
20.
pretty young.
Okay, she
back in the
wasn't
19,
14 though. All right.
but it was the 40s.
Yeah,
Like,
she was 20 in the 40s. That's like being 45 now. It's like, yeah, she was old
well,
enough to know better.
well, I'll tell you what. You should have figured out if you have successive kids that are all acting crazy, then yeah, you should. But she was kind of crazy herself. Like when we get to like
Yeah.
the Thanksgiving thing, there was a little detail about that incident where I was like, apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, then, huh?
Right. Okay. So then we have Don returning to the house because his dad got him out. Jim has returned to the house because his marriage dissolved as well. So
But
the
no,
younger children,
we're not to the Jim coming back yet, because remember the Jim the other kids get sent to Jim's house while he's still
right.
with the wife. So right now
Okay.
Don's at home acting like Jesus, and dressing up like a monk, having rituals in his room, telling, reciting Bible verses like a psycho, and just being like a general nutcase.
Yeah.
And so and then because he's acting crazy, because he's acting like a psycho, uh, Jim, and this is at this point we're at the early 70s. Jim is starting to act crazy. Like it's starting, because that's the other thing about schizophrenia, usually doesn't kick in till later in life, right? So you could be, in fact, like the guy I knew most that was schizophrenic he was always kind of a little weird. Like in high school, he was always kind of a weirdo, but like it was kind of funny. His name was Plas, which was short for Placito. His name was Jose Placito Garcia the Fourth, and we would call him Plas. Anyway, sorry, Plas, if you're out there, don't try to kill me like a psycho that you like the psycho that you are. But anyway, this guy, he was just kind of a weirdo, and no big deal. And then I don't see him for a few years, and I'm out partying with my friends one night, and we ran out of beer, and so we're like, oh, we're gonna go do a beer run, and go to the gas station, grab some beer. So we go to the gas station, and Plas is there, like talking to the gas station guy. Now I thought he was just there buying a pack of cigarettes, not being like a psychotic person, like harassing the gas station guy. And I'm kind of drunk, and so I'm like, hey, Plas, why don't you come with us? All these people from high school are hanging out at this house. Like half the people there. And he's like, okay. I was like, yeah, we'll give you a ride. So we all pack up in the car, and Plas gets in the back seat. And like 5 minutes into the ride, I'm just like ready to shoot myself, because Plas is like, it's all about the number 5. It's all about the number 5 and the dogs and the cats and the planet with the cats. And there's 5 planets, and that's why there's the 5, because there's 5 cats on the 5 planet. And I'm just like, what the fuck's going on with Plas? Like, is he on like some kind of crazy drugs? And I am the least popular person at that party within like 20 minutes, because everyone's like, why'd you fucking bring Plas here? The guy's a fucking psycho.
No.
Because he apparently just wanders around like a psycho the whole night. And then he starts calling, like, after, again, we hadn't seen him for like now I know why, but we hadn't seen him for like 3 or 4 years after high school. Yeah. And he starts calling people now that like we haven't talked to him for years. And then like a few weeks or months or something goes by, and I'm driving down this is actually in Albuquerque. I'm driving down Central in front of a UNM, and he's standing on the median screaming at the sky. And I was like, oh, there's Plas. And so, found out later he basically, the schizophrenia was unleashed after high school. And so that's usually the case, is usually, during your younger years, maybe you're a little weird, but it's manageable, and maybe you're kind of aggressive, because he was kind of aggressive, but like when you get into your 20s, it's just like it gets cranked up to 11. So, but that's what kind of was happening with Jim here, is he was able also to get married and have, like, at least from the appearances, it seemed like he had like a normal life, but he was actually kind of a psycho, and becoming kind of abusive towards his wife and whatnot. But we'll get back to him.
And they had a kid.
Right. So then meanwhile, then we have, Donald is acting like a psycho at home, and he's attacking his mom, because the mom's trying to like make sure that he's taking his medication. And so they're fighting over the medication all the time. And then that's why, because all this shit's going on, they start sending, or either it was hard because like it depended on who they were interviewing. When I was watching that stuff, it's hard to determine whether the parents were telling the little ones to go live with Jim, or if they were just choosing to hang out at Jim's house because Donald was at home acting like a psycho.
They talk about that a little bit in the documentary, and they said that it was that they liked Jim's wife, and she was super sweet, and she like took them to do fun things, and so it was just better to be around Jim and Donald. But they didn't know that Jim had all these psychiatric problems because the parents had hidden this from them. Excuse me. See, if they had known, they wouldn't have gone to stay with Jim. The parents should have been like, "You can't stay with Jim by yourselves."
Yeah, he's also crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So he has all these psychotic symptoms, and he also is formally diagnosed with schizophrenia in the early 70s. So it took that long for Donald and Jim to be formally diagnosed. I mean, by this time, I don't know why it took so long. The parents should have been on this. When was Jim's diagnosis? Like 67. So it took 5 years, or Donald's diagnosis was 67. It took 5 years for Jim to be diagnosed, even though he was exhibiting exactly very similar symptoms to Don.
Right.
It's bummer that he had a kid. That sucks.
Yeah, we'll have to sterilize him eventually. Or
Oh, we didn't mention, but the mom, Mimi, had a perfectly set out Thanksgiving dinner, and she was like a gourmet cook, so she had done everything. Donald flips the table, going after Jim, and then in an incident, Mimi's trying to get Donald to take his medication, and he chokes her. He tries to choke her to death. He lets go, and she continues to advocate for his release out of the institutions once he's institutionalized after this event, and I think subsequent events. She like continues to advocate to bring him back home, where she still has little kids. She still has the two younger daughters, and one of the sons was pretty young too.
okay,
And by
so
by this time, Jim is like, I think he's in his late 20s, or
and,
Donald.
and the thing I was talking about with the Thanksgiving table incident. So after he flips over the table and destroys Thanksgiving dinner, she apparently, according to one of the kids, the mom walks in, sees it, and grabs a rolling pin and starts going to town on like the decorations in the room, like smashing like the gingerbread house and just like screaming like a psycho. So like like don't get me wrong, I can see how maybe you're pushed to your limit, but I feel like maybe that wasn't the only time mom did something like that.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
because
probably not. Yeah.
like how bad? I mean, I don't know. Like it comes from somewhere. But anyway,
Yeah. Yep. Let's see.
fucking
What
Irish
happens
people, am I
next?
right?
I know, right? All right, then we've got Brian
Brian.
Gavin Galvin. That would be a name. That's what they should have done. So Brian and the two youngest sisters, we already mentioned that they're staying at Jim's. We didn't mention that Jim sexually abuses both of the sisters.
Right.
And I don't know like what this means, but it sounds like it was a long-standing, ongoing
Years
issue that
long.
happened years long, and it sounds like it was really, really bad. They talk about it, but they don't really talk about the specifics. Not that I really want to know, but yeah. And so this is what makes it particularly horrible that they had lied to the parents had lied to the rest of the family about Jim's schizophrenic episode when he was younger, because they weren't able to operate with all of the information, and then they chose to go stay at Jim's to escape Donald, and the parents allowed them to. So like
Right.
that's on the parents, right? Like anything that happens at Jim's house is on the parents.
Right.
So Brian, he is a really good guitarist and songwriter. He's the hippie one, right?
No, that's Michael, but
So he moves to California.
but he's a musician too.
Oh God. He is not experiencing symptoms at this point. This is the early 70s. But he did have some psychiatric symptoms at some point because he had been prescribed an antipsychotic medication. There's actually not a lot of information on Brian's downfall, but it sounds like it was a lot shorter and more compressed than Donald or Jim.
Right. Well, and I think it happened away from the
they
family.
were lying about it.
Because he was kind of part of the hippie movement, there wasn't like a lot of records on him because he kind of just moved out to like San Francisco like a fucking hippie. And I just don't think the family was in the loop. So that like he's out there, living on the streets essentially as a musician and performing, and like, everyone's on drugs and like, so there's just not like a lot of records about what he was doing or what he was up to. I don't think he was like writing home. He was
doing a lot of mushrooms and acid at this time, though. I think they do mention that in the documentary.
And that's the thing. So was everybody else too. Like that, right. To make it even better, right? Like all these schizos are all also constantly taking drugs.
So by 73, and this is totally speculative, but his schizophrenia might have been sped up by his history of acid use and drug use and everything like that. And I think that some of this was concomitant with his antipsychotic medication too, which probably makes it particularly bad this entire period of his life. So within like 2 years this happens. So in California, Brian shoots his former girlfriend, this chick, and then kills himself. The family is devastated. But they never really tell the younger siblings exactly what has happened. Like once again, there's this shroud of secrecy over the entire situation, how their mental health situation is played into this. And it was just like, yeah, he was depressed and he killed himself. But it was a straight up murder suicide.
Right.
So even a murder suicide in the family is not causing them to open up communication within the family. Like they're still acting like everything is fine, which is just totally foreign to me. I don't know how you could even do that. Like, is she just going around like making pies and doing all of her chores? And she's like, ah, well,
Yeah.
Brian,
Like
dead.
Donald walks by with a knife, mumbling Bible verses to himself, and she's like, "Oh, that's everything's fine.
Everything's fine. Yeah.
Who wants some cookies?"
Yeah. But this is kind of a turning point in the family because at least the younger siblings, as they're growing up, they're like, we got to talk about this, guys. And then later that year, Peter starts to have some sort of psychiatric change. He's becoming violent and withdrawn, and eventually he has incoherent speech, and he's stealing, bedwetting, really bizarre fears, and then he thinks that there are evil forces beneath or around the house, which is funny because Donald used to live in the root cellar. So but I don't think that they were particularly proactive in terms of his psychiatric care as well after all of this. And between 74
No.
and 82, the three remaining brothers also deteriorate.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And so, go ahead.
No, nothing. I
Go
was
ahead
just
for it.
gonna.
Look at that. And it sucks
This
because
is
they're all handsome and
well,
except for the brown one.
and a lot. Yes, isn't it? He's like oddly brown, isn't he?
Yeah.
No, but the in fact, you want to see a really brown picture of him? Let me see if I can find that one. The one where they're on that staircase. You know which one? The picture I'm talking about.
Yeah.
He looks like he looks like their Mexican servant, like at the bottom.
Yeah.
Let me see here. Where is that photo at? There's so many photos of him. I'll tell you what. I'll look for that. I'll find that.
Okay. So the next year, this is 1 year after the murder suicide, the father, the patriarch of the family, he has a massive stroke. He's hospitalized for months, leaving Mimi to take care of everything in the house and all of the children's mental health problems. Remember, at this point, Peter had, and all of the remaining brothers, all 6 of them are in active schizophrenic delusions, and 5 of them, because, well, no, Brian's dead at this point. So 5 of them are in schizophrenic delusions. And I think that at least 4 of them are living under the same roof, right? Or is it all 5 of them at that point? Jeez. So the father can't help. He's having cognitive problems. He can't work. He retires. And Mimi is responsible for everything, which is somewhat fitting because a lot of these are problems that she created. There it is.
All right,
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'll check it out.
Real brown. Look at him.
Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, oh, and why they have a Mexican kid with him? Because he
Yeah.
does. He looks like a little fucking beaner kid at the bottom.
Yep.
I mean, look at that.
Yep. He does.
I'm almost wondering because he's one of the ones that didn't get. Or wait, did he get the curse, or did
Which
this
one
one
is he?
survive?
He
This is the youngest one. Or no?
I think he did.
Okay, never mind. I was gonna say because if he didn't get the curse, maybe there was some mailman or like pool boy action going on. The result
Isn't that
him.
Joseph?
That's Mark. Mark's the black looking one, isn't he?
No, I think he escaped it then.
Oh no, Matthew. I mean, or I don't know.
I think Matthew and Mark. No, Matthew got it.
Matthew
Mark
did.
did not.
No, Matthew did do it. There's just so fucking many. Anyway, who cares? Let's keep going.
So Peter, of course, he's being transferred among psychiatric programs, and doctors are at this time the prevailing theory was, I guess we should talk about this now. Okay. So the prevailing theory at the time was this Freudian theory that schizophrenia was caused by overbearing mothers and an inability to deal with childhood trauma because of a cold bonding technique with the mother, which of course is retarded. So
Well, hold on.
the
I wonder why Jews would think that schizophrenia was caused by overbearing mothers.
I know.
That's weird, huh? Like, is it because they're almost all schizophrenic and they all have overbearing mothers, so it just sort of worked out
Right.
that way?
And Jews don't want to admit that they have poor genetic quality, and so they're always
Right.
looking for
External.
convoluted environmental factors that cause their myriad mental health issues. When
Right.
really it's just shit genetics. And because they're like perverts, they always think it's some sexual thing with their mother. So the person that really popularized this was Frida Fromm-Reichmann. She was something of a protege of Freud. Now, of course, she was Jewish, but I have no excuses for her because her main area of study was dealing with the cognitive effects of traumatic brain disorder in people that had been to war. So she had like real insights into brain functions and how mechanical things cause psychotic states, right? And her conclusion here is that schizophrenia stems primarily from severe early emotional trauma and weird interpersonal relationships in childhood, and that it is not an organic brain disease. Now, you would think this is just a theory, but this was the prevailing theory in terms of schizophrenia during this time period when all of these doctors are diagnosing these kids. They're saying like, it's your fault because you had a cold attachment to your kids because you were neurotic. And like, that's the only way that she's not at fault. They just didn't want to say it's genetic, despite the tremendous evidence and the single case study of 12 siblings where 6 are schizophrenic. So I had a quote here. She wrote that the schizophrenic is painfully distrustful and resentful of other people due to the severe early warp and rejection he encountered in important people in his infancy and childhood. As a rule, mainly a schizophrenogenic mother. And the schizophrenogenic mother is cold, rejected, controlling, overprotective, and it creates a climate of tension, secrecy, and emotional insecurity. So her solution was that they just needed psychoanalytic psychotherapy, which is just talk therapy, because it's not a fixed
And then you'll
biological
stop
defect.
hearing the voices.
And then you'll stop hearing you can talk your way out of it. And this is just Freudian psychoanalysis. This just swept through the United States because Jews. And if you resolved your childhood unconscious conflict, that you could experience a therapeutic relationship, which Freud famously called transference. And you would find the value in insight-oriented talk therapy. It's so stupid, but this is what all these doctors believed at the time, thanks to denial or Holocaust belief. That's really what this is all about. This is all about the Holocaust, as always.
Basically.
So yeah, that's how she was dealing with it. That's what all these people thought. I mean, I do kind of applaud their attempt, at least, to treat this with antipsychotics. I mean, that was like a step in the right direction. But the prevailing theory was that this was Mimi's fault, but for the wrong reasons. Okay, where were we? That was kind of a tangent. We got Peter. Okay, so Peter has a psychiatric breakdown at age 14. He does electric shock therapy. And the doctors are saying that it's the family dynamics, it's Mimi's parenting, but he did get on antipsychotic medication.
Or because Brian died,
because Brian died, right? Yeah. Because they had all this other trauma. They're saying that it has nothing to do with the mechanical functions.
Well,
of the
all
brain,
the trauma was caused by themselves. It was like yeah. There wasn't like some family next door terrorizing them. Like they were all psycho from the start and terrorizing each other.
Right. So this is the mid-70s. The father is still in bed because of his stroke. and she has to take care of him. Mimi has to take care of him. And this is when Joseph starts hearing voices and seeing things. He's having visual and auditory hallucinations at this point, which is really serious. This one happened fast. Something I noticed about the brothers is that the onset of schizophrenia, like in succession, it just gets shorter and shorter and shorter. And then even though Donald had the most severe schizophrenia, Joseph's first like his entry level schizophrenia was he immediately starts getting visual and auditory hallucinations. It's not like this slow ramp into severe schizophrenia, which is I thought was really interesting. I mean, I don't know why that is, and we don't know. We can't trust
Well,
the
do you,
parents.
well, that's the thing. Do you wonder maybe because if you've got these other psychos living in the same household that are already tuned up to 11, that the guy that's only at a 4, is going to seem pretty fucking normal. You know what I mean?
Maybe. I
So
mean,
like maybe
they already were
Jonathan,
engaged in like incredible denialism about the preceding
right.
sons. And so I can't really trust that like this is the first symptom that he had, because he probably was having symptoms for years and everybody was just dealing with Donald trying to murder people.
Yeah, like for all we know, Joseph's in the corner eating his crayons and talking to a fruit, or something.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
just like, oh, he's just being weird. At least he's not walking around with a fucking knife thinking that
Yeah,
he's Jesus.
exactly. So finally, Mimi arranges to send Margaret away in the late 70s. By this time, she's already dealt with 6 schizophrenic brothers, a murder suicide, all the stuff with Donald. She's been repeatedly raped by Jim. And now Mimi is like, okay, you can go live in this other family,
Yeah, now you can
these
leave.
family friends. Yeah, I mean, it's too late. Um, so the other, I don't know why
I
they just
almost
sent
want.
Mary though.
I'll tell you. I wonder at this point because by now there have been enough incidents and quote unquote family tragedies to where it was you couldn't hide it anymore. You could no
Yeah,
longer put on this facade of the perfect family with the billion kids. Everyone already knew you had a murder suicide kid.
yeah.
Because word gets out. The police had been to their house a few times. It was over. Like the image was done. And so
Yep.
this ability to try to like maintain this facade, it was impossible. Although I would say, I mean, that was true years before they sent her out of the house. But,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
they should have obviously done it way, 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 way sooner.
But
But,
they don't send Mary. They just send Margaret.
right.
And I don't know that the girls had told do you remember if you read anything about the girls telling the parents that Jim was sexually abusing them? I think there was some denial about that too. I mean, I think that
Right.
they had
Well,
said
there
something.
was denial about everything because, so Jim, when he was younger, complained to the parents when he was getting beat up by Donald, and the parents were like, "Oh, yeah, nothing. You're
Yeah.
just making it up." And so, like, it just seemed like they were in denial about literally everything.
Right. Right, right, right. And at this time, so Margaret at least is safe. She's with family friends. It's crazy when your home life is so chaotic that the safe option is just to send one of your kids to live with friends. Like,
Right.
okay, just get out of there. So Mary's still here, and Jim is still sexually abusing Mary. At this time, Matthew, who is also an artist and a musician, he starts exhibiting signs of schizophrenia. So he thinks he's involved with Paul McCartney, that he can influence the weather, and he is hospitalized. And he's also formally diagnosed as schizophrenic.
I can influence the weather though. I mean, I can relate to that one. I've got
This is
weather
where
powers.
We find out that Devon's schizophrenic after all of that. What a tragedy that would be. Gosh, we'd all be like, is anything that I've learned from him true? What about PatCon? No.
It's all. I was told. The voices in my head told me everything that I say.
Yeah, really. Um, Jim continues to sexually abuse Mary. And then when she's about, I don't know, 12, 13, she starts resisting him. She confronts him. And during their last encounter, Jim like full on violently rapes her. Like in the documentary, they act like this is not a product of schizophrenia. Like I'm watching this and I'm like, they're still engaging in some level of
Right.
denialism at this point, but I don't know. I guess they would know better than I would. I mean, there were definitely other things at play. Like this family was highly dysfunctional even outside of the schizophrenia. Although they're
Right.
so inextricably intertwined. It's like who knows what is and is not the schizophrenic element in the house. Um, yeah, okay. Then Mary, she goes to a school in Connecticut, so she is like physically separated her from the house. She goes by Lindsay now, and she is starting to develop her own identity. And then in the 80s, in the early 80s, this is when Joseph is hospitalized because he has a full psychotic break at this point. And this makes six. This is six. Is It's hard to keep track. I mean, geez. So it's Donald, Jim, Brian, Joseph, Matthew, Peter. That's
Right.
that's who got it.
That's like half the disciples, right?
Right. And at this point, scientists are like, oh man, like this is an excellent case study. The
Yeah.
only other thing like this was there were these identical quadruplets. This was, I think I put a link down here. Let me open it. There were these quadruplets called the Morlock quadruplets. And they were monozygotic, identical quadruplet sisters born in the 30s. And all four of them were schizophrenic. So there was a lot of, this was by 1950, they knew a lot about schizophrenia and how it related to genetics, because this is like a scientist's dream. Identical quadruplets, all schizophrenic. And even then, people were trying to say, like, oh, well, it's because they had a shared dysfunctional home life. It's like, no, it's obviously genetic. But between 1955 and 1958, there was a ton of research done on these quadruplets. And a lot of the scientists that had examined that were like, well, obviously, this is genetic. So it's not like there was no precedent, but still, this case was very, very interesting to scientists. And so there was, once the sixth son was diagnosed with schizophrenia, um, people just wanted to research them. And they kind of opened, because all of their secrets were just out there and laid bare.
Right.
They kind of allowed it. They were like, okay, let's see like what's going on with the family. And they allowed these scientists to examine their genetic sequences was later, and to see what part of this is environmental and what part of this is genetic. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes. Um, so Lindsay tells the family that she's been raped by Jim, like openly. Like there had obviously been signs before. I think that they had alluded to it, but they were engaging in so much denialism. And then Mary and Margaret had already seen the parents act like nothing was going on with Don, Jim, and the others. And so they probably were like, why even bother telling mom and dad about this? They're not going to believe us. They always act like nothing is wrong. So if they kept this a secret, it's really obvious as to why.
Right.
Yeah. So then we get into the psychiatrist's findings about this. Um, let's see. They wanted to study the affected and the unaffected siblings, as well as Don and Mimi. They wanted to contribute biological samples, and they wanted to compare all of these to see if there was genetic variation. Now, in the 80s, if you watch true crime, you know that like even DNA evidence in the 80s was just trash. I think they
It's
were still doing
garbage.
blood. It was terrible. I think they were still doing blood typing at this point.
Right.
Like, oh, well, the perp had blood A,
Fiber
but
analysis.
fiber analysis, right? It was really bad. So they kind of knew that they were going to have to wait to see what happens. And that happens in 2000 to 2010. But before that, all the brothers that are alive, that's Don, Peter, Matthew, Brian's dead, Joseph, and Jim, they are in and out of group homes, nursing facilities, family care. They're relapsing. They're on different antipsychotic medications. Um, some One of their delusions, and this is actually a known delusion of schizophrenia, is like truly believing that you're not mentally ill. Like you have all the answers and no one else understands. I don't know how to pronounce this. Anasonosia,
Anosognosia.
anosognosia. I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
Highlight it in the script.
How would you pronounce this? There we go.
I'm gonna have the computer say it.
Anosognosia is my guess.
Hold on. Yeah, I'll have Robert Stack say it. How about that? Since I still have my Robert Stack thing. Let's see here. Take too long for one word. That.
Generate.
Oh, that's way different than either one of us. Here,
Oh, really?
let me play it so you can hear it. That's almost sounds like it has too many syllables in it. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Here's Robert Stack's pronunciation.
Anosognosia. You have anosognosia.
Anosognosia, that makes sense. I probably should have figured that out. I feel retarded now. So people start dying off now. So in 2001, Jim dies of heart failure, cardiovascular problems, and smoking, probably from the antipsychotic drugs. Joseph dies in 2009 at 53. Same thing. He was epileptic, maybe too, or they might have been using neuroepileptics to treat the schizophrenia. The father dies in 2003 of cancer. And then that's when the really interesting genetic research on the family starts coming out, because this was vastly improved by genome sequencing, things like that. So they didn't discover a single schizophrenia gene, and we still actually don't know very much about it. What we do know is that there are collaborative genes. And in the Gavin family, there's a gene called SHANK2, and it has something to do with synaptic function. And that is the gene that was present in this family. So that's
You're
not the
watching
case.
Outlaws.
Is it music? There we go.
Sorry.
That's okay. That's not the case for all people that have schizophrenia. There are some twin studies where there's an affected sibling and there's not an affected sibling. So twin studies estimate the heritability is somewhere between 60 to 80%, somewhere thereabouts. There was this Danish twin registry that put it at about 79%, but that's an incredibly high degree of heritability. So even if there are environmental factors, I know, Brian was using a lot of psychedelics and things like that. They had a lot of family trauma. 6 of 12. I mean, those are bad odds. So in this family, it was the SHANK2 gene. And it's a rare gene. This is actually not the gene that causes most schizophrenia. And they don't really understand the interplay between certain genes that do cause it. They know that certain genes increase the risk, and they suspect that there are some environmental factors at play. I mean, you and I talked offline about marijuana. I think
Right.
that it does probably increase the chance of schizophrenia, or at least
No, big time. And that guy Ploss, so that was the other thing, is he was the one, he was smoking pot at like age 14 and escalated to other drugs. And in fact, that's how we, when he would act like a weirdo, we were like, oh, he's just, he's weird because he's on drugs all the time, and probably a little bit, but I think there is a huge rise. I'll have to track down the article, but there's a huge rise in instances of schizophrenia, and there's a huge connection between those instances of schizophrenia and and people who are smoking pot. Like there's a big correlation. Now, as you were saying when we were talking, that could just be people trying to self-medicate, and I get that, but I do think that it could also be unlocking something, or maybe accelerating something that's already there.
Yeah, I think that is, it's like cancer. There are some people that will smoke their entire lives and they'll be fine. And then there's some people that have some kind of gene sequence that makes them 20% more susceptible to lung cancers. And like my grandpa died of lung cancer when he was 37.
Well, and there's people that'll never, was it Andy Kaufman died of lung cancer, never smoked a day in his life?
Never smoked. Yeah. So we know that environment impacts genes to a certain degree, but schizophrenia seems to be one of the ones that is less environmental, of course, than was previously believed. And they thought it was entirely environmental. But I mean, this alone, and the twin studies, and the case of the identical quadruplets that all had schizophrenia. I mean, that is almost ironclad evidence that there is a very high degree of heritability within schizophrenics. The degree to which you have schizophrenia, I think, can be altered. Like those identical quadruplets, they all had massively varying degrees of their level. their intensity of schizophrenic
Right.
delusion.
Well, and you got to understand that's because that it's interacting with very different, or not very different, but like different brains. You know, like the brains.
Right.
Well, they have very similar genetics that are the building blocks for those brains. There's enough variation to where the component that gives them schizophrenia is going to interact with it differently. And look, even though your brain is a product of your genetics, the pathways and the plasticity of it is such that the environment does play a role in how some of it's put together. And so if you have different kids that are genetically identical, well, they're to some degree going, regardless of environment, going to have a lot of the same tendencies. They're going to have different pathways. There's going to be variation between their brains, even between identical twins. So it's going to manifest in different ways. But because it is genetic, I mean, like I said, I think that if you have maybe this is very Hitlerian of me, but I think that if you have these kinds of dysgenic qualities, it is incumbent on a people who are striving for greatness to remove those genetics from the gene pool. Make it so that you no longer have to worry about it. And look, it's not out of some kind of spiteful evil, like, ha, you suck, we're going to sterilize you. It's like, no, think of a world where there's no one that's schizophrenic. Like, like you're the one that's being selfish. Like, I want to keep my fucking dipshit son able to have crazy kids because rather than have like a world free of schizophrenia, like, give me a fucking break. So if you really felt like you were part of the team, part of the race that was trying to improve itself, you would take one for the team and be like, all right, well, it sucks that I ended up with this combination of genes that makes it so there's schizophrenia in my descendants. But because of that, I'm going to,
yeet myself
submit.
in the gene pool.
Right.
Yeah. Like
right.
do it
and
for
look,
the white cause. Come on.
And just because it's something you can't see or that you can't predict doesn't make it any less of a negative than one of these like more obvious birth defects or these kinds of genetic diseases that create, like spina bifida or like, one of these kinds of things. It's just as bad, if not worse. And in fact, it's worse in that it usually impacts other people. It's not just some self-inflicted wound,
Yeah.
So I don't know. I kind of feel like it's an argument to at least explore eugenic options when it comes to these really severe mental illnesses. Now, no, again, not across the board. And there's always, there would have to be some kind of standard that wouldn't be cruel and also wouldn't be, over the top. But at the same time, it's like we can get rid of this. Like if we know where the gene is, we can get rid of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people talk about birth defects a lot, environmental causes. Only 3 to 10% of birth defects are causal by teratogens. That's like ways that you can poison your pregnancy. So I was doing some research on this. There's some evidence that like you can do supportive care during pregnancy with choline and other things like that to reduce the incidence of schizophrenia. But most of these schizophrenia cases are going to be de novo, which means basically that they're genetic.
Right.
And most people don't know like where a lot of birth defects come from. And so I think it's safe to assume that a lot of those are genetic too. It's like we're not being honest here about like the level of, and the right is really bad about this. My Twitter timeline is just infested with health, like how to improve your health, how to improve. Like I understand that we can eat well and we can diet and everything, but so much of your life is just determined by genetics. And that's a hard thing to admit. I understand that's difficult for people because you lose the control over your life and your health to a certain degree. But also, do you want to have 100% of responsibility for like when you die? Like, I don't think you want that either.
All right, and again, there's wiggle room. Like obviously there are going to be foods that are going to be healthier to eat, and you'll live longer because of it. But if you're looking for some kind of significant change, other than unless you're drinking like literal poison, it's you're not going to be able to really impact anything like that significantly with diet or environment.
Right.
I mean, there's people that smoke until like I had a great aunt that smoked until like her late, I think she died at 89, and it wasn't from emphysema. It was like from something else. But she smoked so much that like when we went into her house to clean up afterwards, take care of her stuff after she died, like the walls had like an almost like a quarter-inch thick, film of like that nicotine shit on it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, totally.
like she smoked, and she had been smoking like since, I mean, she died when I was in my early 20s, and she'd been smoking since like I ever knew. Every time I went to her house, like I knew that like I was gonna have a hard time breathing, because she would just be
Ugh,
chain smoking the entire time I would be there, from when I was like a
awful.
little kid. So
Awful, awful. Oh, I had some other stuff I wanted to say about eugenics, but first,
mm,
in 2017, Mimi dies. And then between 2010 and 2020, all of the brothers are in care facilities. And there are some really interesting interviews with them in the HBO documentary, Six Schizophrenic Brothers, because they're experiencing these paranoid delusions like actively. It's really fascinating to watch. So in 2020, Matthew is moved into skilled nursing care. 2023, Peter dies. And then 2025, Donald dies. And so Matthew is the last surviving brother, and I think you can see interviews with him on YouTube. Yeah, but as far as the eugenics thing is concerned, like I advocate for eugenics up to a certain point. Like I want people to engage in selective breeding. I want people that have poor genetic qualities generally just to not have kids, right? Just to choose to not have kids, right? I want this to be a societal choice because we're all in it together. To a certain degree. I mean, I don't think that everybody should have kids. But in terms of CRISPR, IVF, embryo select, like on all that stuff, I'm out. I'm like, no, because I don't believe that the science is there to support the idea that it's actually improving the quality of our gene pool. Um, from a moral perspective, like I don't know, I'm out on that too. So I want people to engage in voluntary eugenics. Is my official position.
well, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna be doing a stream on this.
Really?
Hold on. Well, I'll show you. I'm trying to find the video so you'll laugh your ass off, I think. Yeah. So there's this movie made by our ancestors in 1917. It's a silent film. And it was called Are You Fit to Marry?
Oh yeah, somebody mentioned this in the live stream a few weeks ago. We talked about it.
Right. So I downloaded it, and it's pretty fucking awesome. Let me load it up here. Yeah, I do have it. Okay. So yeah, all right, let me pop it on the timeline here. This is a crap version, but it's a silent film, so it doesn't really matter. But I'm trying to use AI to get rid of the time code, but it's proving more difficult than I thought. But it's pretty funny. So like, here's the opening scene. Let's see here. Bum. Let me get us to where you can see this. Let me make it big. But it starts off, this guy's gonna marry some dude's daughter, and he's like, "Well, let me talk to you for a little bit, boy, before you go pulling the trigger, So here he's like, Alice is out again, motoring. That's pretty awesome. It's he's out in his motor vehicle, motoring with Jack Gaynor. They have been together a lot lately. There he is. And he's like, hey, baby, let's get married. They're necking. And then he goes home and he's like, oh, look, he gave me a ring. We're going to get engaged.
Put her on like fat fingers. Did you see that? Those ham
the ham planet fingers.
Yeah.
And then he's like, boy, I got to go talk to you about genetics for a little bit before we approve of any. They walk off, and he was like,
what year was this?
1917. They re-released it in 1927. And I've had a hard time finding a real good copy of it. But he's like, see that horse over there? There, my boy, is a colt, healthy, of fine form and promise, selected breeding, the result of an unbroken line of thoroughbred stock. What's this got to do with marrying Alice? Well, boy, let me tell you. Son, I want to ask you, it's covered up, oh, there we go, to do something for me. For Alice's sake, and happiness. But before I tell you what it is, let's take a drive together. I have something else to show you. So he basically does like look at these homeless people. They suck because of genetics. Anyway, it goes through at the end. I haven't watched all the way through, but I'm pretty sure he's like, and that's why you can't marry my daughter because your genetics suck or something like that. Let's see.
Well,
here.
see, I mean, couldn't they have applied these same basic
Yeah, this is not-
principles to
this is
schizophrenia? It's not rocket
1917.
science. It's 1917. Yeah.
And so everyone understood this shit, by the way. Like, well, here's the thing. All the WASPs figured it out.
Yeah.
And these fucking dirty potato Catholics come in and start pumping out schizo babies. I'm just kidding.
To be fair, schizophrenia is much more common in Jews.
No, it's I think it's most common in Jews. It's actually, you know, weirdly, it's also, if I remember, let me look this up, but I think it's actually weirdly common in black people. They just never talk about it for some reason.
Really?
Yeah, let me see. List. Let's see here. List in order the rates of schizophrenia. Most common city, some of that. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, I actually did expert mode. It's going to take forever. It's like, let me do a research paper before I answer that.
Well, I
Devon?
can ask. This is excellent listening.
Right? People like it when they listen to us type, I've heard. They're like, can you do that more? Can you like look things up that you should have looked up before the show? Like during the show?
Black and African, well, we didn't know we were going to talk about this. Black and African American are diagnosed with schizophrenia at rates 2 to 4 times higher than whites.
Right. Yeah. I knew it was.
And then it says, however, researchers emphasize that this gap reflects a complex mix of systemic inequalities,
yeah, I'm sure.
social stress, and diagnostic disparities rather than an inherent biological vulnerability tied to race.
So get this. Number one, because it doesn't list Jews, number one is Black African. Number two, Black Caribbean. Number three, Black African American. Number 4, American Indian. Number 5, South Asian. So like the jungle Asians. Number 6, Hispanic Latino. Then it's whites and Asians.
I wonder if it's higher in Jews.
Well, here's the thing. I bet you Jews are being counted in that white portion.
I'm sure they are.
And it's bumping us up over Asians because Asians are some crazy motherfuckers. There's no possible way that they're less schizo.
I think they must be. So,
I mean, and in fact, it's crazy high. So like Black Africans are 4 to 6 times higher. Black Caribbean.
They do include schizophrenia in the white population in this study.
Jews, you mean? They count.
Or
Jews
yeah. What did I say?
You said schizophrenia because you've got schizophrenia.
No, they include Jews in the white population. That's what I meant to say. Yeah, I just asked, do blacks have a higher rate of schizophrenia than Jews? Black people are diagnosed with schizophrenia at a significantly higher rate than white people.
Oh,
Thanks.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah. No, but they're 4 to 6 times higher than whites, 4 to 5, and then Black Caribbeans are 4 to 5. Then African Americans are over 2 times. Yeah, and then it goes off from there. But like, yeah, you never hear about that. You never hear about schizo fucking blacks.
Schizophrenia rates in Jewish populations are comparable to global averages. Does that include Black people? Though researchers study Ashkenazi groups because their genetic continuity is what allows them to pinpoint rare risk variants. So it has nothing to do with Jews like being crazier.
What's the rate of? Let's see here. I'll get a Jew number.
You're gonna get a Jew number? I don't know. Didn't we talk about this a few weeks ago? I think it was really hard to find. I don't know that we ever did.
All right. Grok's on it. Let's see. Comparing schizophrenia rates between Ashkenazi Jews and white populations.
Oh, there it is.
So we've got schizophrenia is more common in Ashkenazi Jews. I'd say it's not significantly higher. It's saying it's around, let's see here, blah, 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 blah. Just give me a fucking number.
I don't think they're going to do it. I
It
don't think
won't
that
do
they've
it.
separated it out in these studies.
So it's funny. They're trying to make Grok's trying to make it sound like a small. They're basically twice as much according to this. So what they're saying is the lifetime prevalence of schizophrenia in whites is at 0.5%, and it's only 1% in Jews. And it's like, yeah, that's twice though. That's twice
Yeah.
as much.
Yeah.
So it's still even though like the number's still small, it's still twice as often.
Yikes.
So it's about twice as much as, and they're included in that white number. So
There
yeah.
was one other topic that I want to discuss before we go to super chats.
What's that?
Well, something that's always bothered me about Catholicism, and especially traditional Catholicism, is this having a baby no matter what the situation is, and not using the rhythm method. So I know a lot of traditional Catholic people that they would get pregnant 3 months after giving birth, and then they would miscarry that baby. And I was always like, this it seems unethical, because if you would have just waited for your body to be ready to be pregnant again, then you
Right.
wouldn't have miscarried the baby. So like, isn't preserving life of the highest order? And then I remember one time reading like Catholic teachings on dealing with an ectopic pregnancy. And
What's
in
ectopic?
an ectopic pregnancy is when the the embryo implants in the fallopian tube. Now, no ectopic pregnancy has
Oh,
ever
is
been
this like a
successful.
molar pregnancy?
No,
Is that
a
the
molar
same thing?
pregnancy is not the same thing. But there's similar philosophies. But when an embryo has to implant in the uterus, otherwise it's not going to succeed. So
Right.
if an embryo implants in the fallopian tube,
Right.
you have to take methotrexate, which is you have to flush out the embryo, like you have to, or you're going to lose a fallopian tube. You're going to lose
Right.
half your fertility. Although people with one fallopian tube tend to be okay. But the Catholic teaching on that is because you can't end a life, you can cut out the fallopian tube and you can let the embryo die on its own. And I'm like, that's retarded, because then you lose some of your future fertility. You lose a fallopian tube, and the pregnancy was non-viable to begin with. And so I would always just like rage about this, because I'm like, that's so stupid. And I think it's just as stupid as having these stacked pregnancies that have a much higher risk of miscarriage because you aren't allowing your body to replenish its nutrient stores, and your body's just not ready for pregnancy. Like, that's the ending of a life based on your own moral decisions. And so I guess what they would say is like, well, God allowed you to get pregnant. But I'm like, I don't know. This seems unethical to me. And so I'm like, I feel like I'm really turning on the pro-natalist stance in that way. Like, I just don't think that people should be having all the possible kids that they have, irrespective of circumstances. Like, Timothy Gordon, do you follow him?
No.
So his first child had hydrocephalus, and it was like she's lifelong disabled. And then they had 7 more children, and they just had their 8th child. He's a traditional Catholic. They just had their 8th child. They're both in their mid 40s, I want to say. He might be in his late 40s, and she's in her mid 40s. And the 8th baby has Down syndrome. Now, I personally, I can't really imagine a scenario where I would have an abortion. I think it would ruin my life. I would feel so horrible and guilty. I think I would have a baby no matter what was going on. However, the taking on the pregnancy at that age comes with an incredible amount of risk. And like, you've subjected this child to lifelong struggles because you decided that you needed to continue until your fertility window ran out, which was a choice that you made. And so he goes online, he's talking about how like this isn't a big deal and the child's like such a huge blessing. I'm like, okay, we can have a discussion about not having abortions and preserving life without acting like this is a good thing, right? Surely. But people online just like, because that one content creator talked about terminating his trisomy 21 child, and people are, you're a murderer and everything like that. And while I agree, because I'm pro-life, I'm like, we're not really having an honest conversation about quality of life, about disabled children being taken care of after the parents die. I mean, we can't act like this is good. I mean, and one of the ways that we can reduce Down syndrome on a societal level is for women to not be having babies deep into their 40s. I mean,
Well,
at age 43, you have like a 7% chance of a child having a major birth defect.
yeah, well, I'll tell you, my mom got her tubes tied, uh, probably in her 40s, I think,
Yeah.
because the reason I mentioned Muller pregnancy, she had a Muller pregnancy, and then that obviously that didn't work out, and then she had my youngest brother, um, which was uh, actually a surprise to them. That's why she had her tubes tied afterwards. She thought she'd already gone through the shop was already closed up, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Yeah.
So, uh, yeah, I mean, like I've never had I'll tell you what, I don't understand. Maybe it's just a Catholic thing because like, it's not like obviously abortion's off limits with Mormons and with probably every Christian, or at least most of them. But the using condoms and having your tubes tied or even getting a vasectomy, that's never been like an issue. I mean, Mormons still have a billion kids. Like my mom has 6 kids. That's way above the norm for when she was having them, and really like for like the last century. So it's not like, and Mormons are famous for having a lot of kids, but they don't have like this obsession with like the Monty Python song about every sperm being sacred kind of a thing, where it's
Yeah.
like you can't wear a condom after a certain time, or you can't actually plan out your reproduction. It just has to be God roll the dice with God, and if you get a baby, you get one. I don't understand that, but at the same time, it makes sense from an organizational perspective where if you want to maximize your parishioners, that's what you would tell them to do. Have as many Catholics as possible, and it's worked.
Yeah, but at
Like,
what cost? I mean, there are personal costs to
well, yeah,
families.
but those are your costs. The Vatican doesn't
Yeah,
have
but
to pay for that.
this is unethical though. Like I think that this is truly unethical. Like women in Haiti,
In
they shouldn't
fact,
be
look,
having
if you want,
7 kids.
if I want to be cynical here, I could say that the church would benefit from you having those costs because it'll keep you going to church because your
Yeah.
life is going to be in such you're going to need Jesus to lean on to deal with all these issues. No, I'm not. I'm not suggesting that's what happens, but it
Of
might be
course
one of those.
that's what happens
Well,
though.
I don't mean like intentionally. I don't think, what I mean. Like, hey, let's make them have retard babies, so they have to go to church to deal with it. Like, I don't think you know what I mean. Like, I don't think
Yeah.
that's like some meeting at the Vatican. They cook that up. But I am saying that could just be what has happened. Is because if you think about a lot of these people that have uh, developmental problems with their children, they do lean into religion pretty hard about it, and
Mm.
they do tend to, or maybe that's just the people that aren't having, that aren't aborting the Down syndrome kids or whatever. But you do seem to have that connection between. It's very similar in how they view like the people that don't see race, right? Because we're all God's children, we're all spiritually equal on equal footing, and so therefore, so are these people who have an IQ. I mean, if they don't care if your IQ is 80, or I'm sorry, 10, how are you going to care if your IQ is 80? That sort of a
Right.
thing.
Right. Right. No,
And
I think you're totally right. Yeah.
so and what I've thought when I've heard my mom talk about stuff like this, that's how it usually comes framed, right? Because she's very religious and she always frames it as like, oh, they're actually, in fact, something she used to say often was, um, they're so special. Because here's what didn't make sense. I think that the way it came up was I was talking to her about how, well, it doesn't make sense to me if we're sent here to Earth to complete some, perform some test and then be rewarded in the afterlife based on how we performed on this test. Wouldn't God want us to go into that test with the same resources to pass the test?
Right.
And why would you have people here that are clearly incapable of taking the test because they can't even drink a glass of water? And my mom's explanation for it, and again, I don't know if this is actual doctrine or just like something she cooked up in her head, but her thing was, well, these are people that are so special that God already knew they were going to pass the test. So they're actually here to help us take it by like giving us challenges in life to make it harder for us to take the test. And I was like,
Ugh.
that just sounds shitty though for everybody.
I know. I mean,
Eh,
I worry that we're so dogmatic as Catholics. I mean, I'm Novus Ordo, so not or Novus Ordo, so I'm not really particularly dogmatic. But I worry that with these rules that all this nuance on free will is lost. Because I don't believe that it's God's will to introduce a child into a life of suffering. And I don't think that we should be ending lives, but I think that we should be doing what we can to reduce the chance that these things happen. They're still going to happen and we need to
so let
act
me ask you this.
accordingly.
Like from a moral standpoint, here's a tricky one. What do you think if you, let's say, you somehow could find out first trimester, this kid is going to be not just like Down syndrome, but like severely can't feed himself, retarded.
Ugh.
Not would you do it? I'll lift that burden from you from having to answer it personally. But I'm saying like how would you feel about that just on a abstract moral level? Like at that point, is it damn you to hell forever if you're like, well, I'm just not going to deal with that? And I'm talking like a kid that's so retarded they don't know what the hell's going on. They're never going to know what the hell's going on. We're like
No,
you're giving birth to Terry Schiavo, you know?
I would never tell that person that they've murdered their child. Like in my particular situation, I don't know if I could do it. I don't know. I would never tell that person that they were murdering their child. I don't know if they're going to hell. I mean, I'm not God. But if somebody did that, I would understand. I would totally and I would offer them my empathy and support, right? I think that we need to be more understanding in those situations because that does happen. Like people find out that their baby has not Down syndrome, but they find out that their baby has trisomy 18 that has a 90% chance of death within, I think something like 5 days. And there's no quality of life there. And I know some people that have had a baby like that and they've chosen to go through their whole pregnancy. And like, I understand that and I support that decision. But if that person decides to have an abortion, like, I don't think that that's on the same moral plane. I don't think it's ridiculous for me to say this. It's not on the same moral plane as somebody that's having an elective abortion of a probable healthy fetus.
Like using it as a form of birth control.
Yeah, or because they like fucked the wrong guy or whatever.
Right.
Like those are not the same. Can we like talk about how these are not the same thing? I
Right.
feel like this nuance has been totally lost in the discourse, especially Catholic discourse. And Catholics that hear me say this, they'll be like, well, you're just straight up supporting murder. I'm like, I just don't think it's the same thing.
No, and in fact, like even when I was at my most pro-life, my stance on, for example, like rape babies. Like let's say your daughter gets raped by a rabid nigger on her way to school. She's 13. She gets pregnant. Is it murder to kill the rape baby?
Yeah, I mean, on the one hand, it's not the baby's fault, and they would have a good admixture of white genetics. So, like, I'm conflicted on this, but it's also horribly unethical to force a child to go through.
Well, and for the rest of
kind
your
of
life,
pregnancy.
you're gonna be like every time you look at your kid, it's gonna be like, "There's the rape baby."
Yeah. If somebody had an abortion in that situation, I would also understand. That being said, I mean, I also don't like talking about all of these really nuanced positions in abortion because over 99% of abortions are elective for stupid
Sure,
reasons.
sure,
So, I don't want to. We've seen what happens when the exception makes the rule. People
right.
continue to just use it as an abortive or, as birth control.
Right.
I
And then
want to,
and then when they want to campaign so they can use it for birth control, they'll bring up those
they'll
exceptions and
bring
be
up those
like,
things.
"Oh,
Yeah.
what if I get raped by a nigger?" Like is
Right.
leftists are
Right.
always
Yeah.
talking about that. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I mean, and of course, there's the black crime thing too. I mean, abortion is more common in black communities than anywhere else. And was it Malcolm Gladwell? I don't remember. One of these people got into some hot water because they basically proved that crime rates went down after peak abortion in the black community at the age of peak criminality. or what it would have been if those kids
Right.
were not aborted. I mean, do I think those kids deserved it? Of course not. And like I hope their souls are
Well,
saved. No, I mean that saddens me because they're children, they're innocent
oh
children
yeah.
still.
Well, hold on. You think they have souls? You
Listen,
say
I
you say
I
the
am a
the
woman.
most hilarious things sometimes.
You're so cute.
she
But
thinks
it
she
is
thinks the Nig
probably
babies have souls.
it is
That's
probably a net benefit for society. I mean, we have to like acknowledge that while still realizing that abortion is wrong and it's usually murder.
well. Look, I'll just tell you that I just see them as a separate. They're a separate subspecies. So I feel like that's up to them. Like I don't even really care. They could have all the abortions they want, and I don't. To me, it's like asking me to comment on the morality of like lions that eat their young. It's on the same level to me. I don't give a shit, And so like we're different subspecies, and so that's their
Yeah.
business. I'll talk about pragmatically and realistically whether or not it's good for crime. Obviously, it's good for crime or good for preventing crime.
Yeah, but
Obviously,
nobody's able to have a discussion about
but
this. Like, were you
yeah.
following that Twitter discussion on the guy that said he was terminating
No,
the Downs
I
kid?
I saw it going on and people spurging
Ooh,
out
dude, I was like, I am staying out of this one.
yeah, it's one of these things where I'm just kind of like I kind of get it. I mean, look, I used to be very pro life. In
Yeah.
fact, I made like a pro life video. It's probably still on my YouTube because the way I looked at it, and I still to some degree do, look at it as like that combination of genes will never exist ever. And I was coming at it from a point of view. This is, I think, before I was as race pilled. And I was coming at it as a maximizing life, just generally point of view, human life.
Yeah.
And the more that I think about it, and the more that I look at the role that genetics plays, and the more that I've connected the dots between why black behavior is one way and white behavior is one way and Asian behavior, once you realize like how much of everything is just biology, um, it just like, I'm kind of like, well, like, and on some degree, there is like the argument for also, um, I mean, look, I don't think it's ideal. I think that sterilization should be the ideal because that takes the whole question
Prevents
off the
it, yeah.
table, right? And then you stop it before it even starts, and it's no longer an issue anymore. But at the same time, it's like, so you mentioned, for example, here's another reason why it gets tricky. You mentioned, well, what about all these people that are using it for almost like birth control? And I hear that argument too. Um, from a eugenics point of view, it's like, are those the people you want reproducing though? Do you want like a bunch of people who can't control, who can't remember to put a condom on, who just have sex with randos, who are just irresponsible
No, I
shitbags?
totally understand. But this is the difference between our philosophies. This is why women can't have any power, okay? Because I'm as based and race pilled as I think it is possible for a woman to become. But because I have this strong maternal instinct, I'm still just thinking about like, well, they're just babies.
But
I can't reduce a baby to a biological status. I'm just incapable of it. This is why women, I mean, we can't be in charge of anything because at the end of the day, like fundamental in my soul is this pathological altruism to save the children. It's fucking psychotic. I'm the schizo. Me.
well, I mean, look, I get it because I, to some degree, feel the same way, and it's like one of these things where you don't. I mean, you don't want to. I think what it is people morally start to frame it in their brain as you are condemning someone who has yet to prove themselves. Like that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's the bottom line, and that is morally wrong to condemn people for things they haven't even done yet. And I think that's a fairly good concept that you shouldn't want to condemn people for things they haven't done, right? Pretty basic.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at the same time, it's kind of like that's what happens when you drop a fucking A-bomb on Japan, like
Yeah.
you're like sometimes, and not that was a good thing to do, but like maybe I should have found a better example, but there are instances where sometimes if you want to make an omelet, you know what I mean? And you gotta,
Yeah.
and I feel like that it's not ideal. And there's maybe one way you could do it too is, let's say you could do it where, oh, all right, you can have your I'm just a negligent woman abortion, but it comes with free and required sterilization, so this never happens again.
Great. Yeah. I'm on board. Yeah.
And then
Totally on board.
they get their abortion, but then they're not in there fucking every week doing this shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I knew this lady once. She was married and she was this leftist chick, and she was older, and she had 3 abortions in between each of her 3 children due to like child spacing issues.
You mean just because she didn't want to have one yet?
Yeah.
But she was gonna have one, but just not this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of fucked up.
Well, it's incredible. It's incredible. Like after she told me that, I was like totally astonished that it's such an incredibly stupid reason for an abortion.
I mean, if you're gonna have one and you're just like, it's just not the right time yet.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. And she was in
sorry,
a functional.
Billy.
I think that when I talked to her, she told me that she was probably 60. She was still married to the same guy for like 30 years.
Ugh.
Like those were your kids. Like
That's not,
she
what
just didn't.
I've actually heard liberal boomer women say similar things.
Yeah.
I think what happened was when they were going through the whole Roe v. Wade propaganda stuff, they made it so normalized, because it shouldn't be something that people take lightly, right? Like it
Yeah.
shouldn't be just something that like getting a mole removed or something like that. Like you shouldn't think of it like that. And if it gets reduced to something like that, I think it does cheapen life in other ways, and it would be bad for the soul of our people to want to just use abortion as like this, pragmatic answer to any problem.
Yeah. I shouldn't act like I'm so benevolent though. Do you remember when those white lesbians drove off the cliff with their 5 adopted black kids?
If
I
I'd known
laughed.
about that, I would have. That sounds like
Oh my God.
that's a
That is
real
the best
thing.
story of. Oh, it was so funny. When that happened, I was laughing. I was laughing so hard I could not breathe. That story just had fucking everything. It was these dykes, and they like wanted to do all this social signaling, and so they adopted 5 kids from like several different baby daddies out of the ghetto in Houston, and then they like abused them horribly, and then they
And
couldn't.
then
They
drove
were
them
in
off the
trouble.
cliff.
Yeah, they were in trouble with CPS, and they kept like leaving. They were beating the kids, starving them, or whatever. So they went to a new place in Oregon, and then they were about to get CPS was like closing in on them. So they drugged the kids with Benadryl, and they just drove off a cliff. Everyone died. Now I can talk a big game about like not wanting to abort black babies, but when that happened, I thought it was the funniest shit I've ever heard in my life. Because
Wow.
it just had everything. It's like these lesbians wanted to signal that they were so good. They were such good people. And then these kids growing up in these fucked up ghetto environments in Houston ended up being better off if they had just
Right.
stayed with their own kind. And so,
or murdered by blacks in a couple of years.
or murdered by blacks in a couple of, like, let them go out, in style the way they want to, right? But there was something, so, I think I have it in me to be Devon level of pragmatic. I was going to say cruel, but pragmatism is really what it is.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I wouldn't want. I used to be, just hardlined. The only exception that I ever gave it was rape, and my answer to that was when I was. This is before it was like it was a problem. ever actually have to ever, it was all theoretical, and I was like 19 and I thought I was political and I was,
Yeah.
developing my morals and stuff. And I would have told you then that even if my wife got raped, I would keep the baby or tell her to, because like
Yeah.
I was so like hard nosed about it. But now I'm like, no, you wouldn't. Like, well, I mean, maybe you would have then, but you would have hated it. When little
Yeah.
Tyrone was like
Yeah,
every day
yeah.
he came home from work, and fucking like half black rape baby was like hanging out, and you were paying for him to go to college. Well, like that kid's going to college, like it would be a fucking nightmare.
Yeah.
It'd be a fucking nightmare.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, and I started thinking about like I later shifted to where, well, if it was a rape baby and you get the abortion, then the blood's on the hands of the rapist anyway, because nothing you did initiated
Caused
the
the
pregnancy.
baby. Right.
So if you initiate the end of the pregnancy, you're not responsible for that. You're just stopping something. It's like if someone walks on
but the person that pays is the baby. That's where I get hung up there.
Nah, they know. They don't know.
Yeah, but still, like, we don't need to remove the
Plus
the
rape
sense.
babies. I'm telling you, I had a friend, his cousin was a rape baby. And
They
that
grow up messed up.
motherfucker.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's dead already. Like he was and in fact I think he died like in a shootout with cops like 10 years ago. Like he was my age. I met him like once or twice, and I hated him instantly because he was just like a criminal. Like he was just like this no impulse control psycho. And I was like a bad kid, but I mean, like, I wasn't like a evil kid, and he was just evil. And when I found out he was a rape baby, I was like, oh, well, that explains.
Oh,
like he seems like someone whose dad is a rapist. Like that's checks out.
Yeah.
And yeah, so like, I don't know. I just feel like I don't does the world need rape babies? I'm sure there's rape babies that turn out okay. Right? There's got to be.
Yeah, but it's also your genetic material. So like I don't think I'd be able to have an abortion in that instance.
Even if it's half rape genetic
I
material?
don't know. But it's also half my child. I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, I hope to God I'm never in a situation like that. I'm 38, so if you are gonna rape me and impregnate me, like the time is nigh. But I hope that nothing like that ever happens. I don't know what I would do, but I think I would have a really hard time doing that. I actually do not think I would have an abortion. Just take
Yeah.
Plan B if that happens to you.
If my wife got raped, I would have a hard time with her not getting an abortion. I would tell you.
I understand that too, though.
But yeah, it would be such a, yeah, I don't know if I can handle that actually.
I think a lot of people in the chat talk about adoption. Like, I got a lot of problems with adoption too.
Well, okay, the adoption thing is better than keeping it for sure. Like a million times better than keeping it, but still, I don't know.
Yeah, but a woman has to go through my pregnancies were.
I guess you could always
awful.
give like your rape baby to like some gay couple, and then like
and then they get they're raping your rape baby.
Yeah, well, he deserves it. I think.
Oh my God. So messed up. How do we end up talking about this for 30 minutes? God. The point of all of this is that, I think that
the sins of the father
teachings are growing.
being visited up.
So wrong. Devon. You're so naughty.
Anyway.
On that note, I don't want to follow this up with the antelope.
I can't stop.
You ever read the Antelope Hill ad? Come on. Give me a second.
I'm just picturing Dave Rubin in my head for some reason. Like with a rape baby.
Dude. Are those his biological kids? Do you know?
Yeah, didn't they get like some like donor pussy or something? I think they did, right? Like rent a womb.
Ooh. Yeah, I think so. They must have. I mean, there must have been a pussy involved, right? Somebody surrogated. Did Surrogacy 4. Am I retarded? Yes. Yes, I am. All right. Let's move on. Don't forget
All
to
right.
get your donos in. We've had a light few months. We got like one guy floating the show and Penelope. Other than that, we always report our earnings to each other, and it's been really depressing for me lately. So my audience, come on, get the donos up. Antelope Hill Publishing is the premier American publishing house for informed and principled political dissidents. They publish essential authors like Dr. Kevin McDonald, David Irving, Carrie Bolton, and Dr. Ricardo Duchesne, Josh Neal, and more. Their catalog includes original works on modern issues like the opioid crisis and the people and networks pushing transgenderism, as well as original historical sources from National Socialist Germany, fascist. Why did you have to talk about Dave Rubin? Now I'm thinking about
Dave Rubin and his rape baby.
Spain, Britain, Japan, Hungary, many available in English for the first time exclusively through Antelope Hill. Their catalog also includes thrilling fiction novels and beautifully illustrated and wholesome kids books. Whatever your interest is, you are sure to find something you want at Antelope Hill. Check them out to support our friends and our sponsor. Use the code Outlaws for 10% off your order. It really does help the show a lot, and it helps Antelope Hill, and they have such an interesting catalog. So please order from Antelope Hill. Everybody could use a few more books on subject matter that we are deficient in. I know I could. I should be ordering from Antelope Hill more. Use the code Outlaws for 10% off. Thank you so much, Antelope Hill. I cannot believe you support the show, but we really appreciate it.
Especially after that. Maybe they won't.
I know. Let's do some super chats.
All right. Let's take a look here. You want me to go first? You go first, or
I can go first. I got a big super chat, huge one from Lizard Killer. Thank you so much. I've been trying to post a super chat for 2 weeks and YouTube won't let me post it. I censored it until it was unreadable. So I sent it to Subscribe Star DMs. Do you want me to read it? Here, I think I should. Let me read this other one first. Actually, can you read a few while I'm getting into this? I think I have 2A. It might take me a second.
Yes.
Are you eating pretzels?
No, I was throwing some cat treats at the kitty. All right. So, well, Churro was bothering me. He's like, and I was like, I just got like some treats and just threw them in the other room. And he's that's the way to get rid of him. Yeah. All right. We got Pork Chop Express says, Replay Gang, Becca, just want you to know, I appreciate your comments on Asians last week. It's the only culture besides whites I think is interesting.
Yeah, I totally agree. You know, I'm a white nationalist, but I believe in true diversity, like appreciating the benefits of other cultures. I just don't want them to live near me.
Right.
I still like international travel, and I like to learn about other cultures and see what they've brought to the world. I like Asians. I don't know, high tier Asians. Once again.
Yeah, not the jungle Asians. It gets a little squirrely. All right, then we got a gigantic dono, gigantic from Herp Derp. Herp Derp says, Replay Gang, the Schizo brothers. Certainly, this is the stream where the crazy people do good instead of bad. Nope, unfortunately not.
Sorry, buddy. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you.
Thank you very much, Herp Derp. That's very generous. Doing the heavy lifting, everyone. I want you to look at next time you think about sending a super chat. I want you to take a page from Herp Derp's book and just dig deep there,
Dig deep. Wait. Let me read Lizard Killer because I just pulled up Subscribestar.
All right.
I'm 2 weeks late on this. I'm sorry. YouTube won't let me post it in super chats. Antelope Hill's book, Sword of Christ, makes a great case as to why white nationalism and Christian nationalism should be arm in arm, because without whites, Christianity turns into brown hedonism, and without Christianity, whites turn into brown faggots. Would love if you all did a show on the final third of that book and maybe debate its argument. That is interesting because I'm struggling with this just desperately in my own mind. And so if anybody else can help me make sense of how to deal with my faith and my racism without getting rid of one or the other, it would really, really, really help me. So Lizard Killer, thank you so much for that huge dono. I really, really appreciate it. And I will read that. Maybe we should all order the Sword of Christ from Antelope Hill. 10% off. Use code Outlaws. All right, go ahead. Sorry, Dan.
Yes. I have an opposite view of the world, but all right, let's take a look here. Then we got Purple Cat Mint says Devon, Rebecca, Heart Churro, Cactus, something lizard, cat head, heart. Thanks so much. You're all awesome.
Oh, thank you so much.
What's
It is
that?
funny. We all have a relationship with churro.
I can't tell what that second emoji after the cactus is. If I mouse hover it, will it tell me?
Dude, you need to cut off churro's balls.
No. We need little baby churros everywhere.
No way. Churro is impregnated. How many of his desert kittens have like died of thirst out there because
All the
churro is
weak
just
ones. All the weak ones. That's the answer to that question. All of the weak ones. And only the strong will
neuter
survive.
churro. I love churro. You need to chop off his balls.
Churro
That's all
is
I'm saying.
making an army of powerful desert kitties that can destroy.
Did you tell that story on the show on one of your streams about how you saw a cat at the gas station and like you knew it was churro's offspring?
I might have, but yeah, I'm pretty sure. Like it was when Churro was gallivanting in that area, and or after Churro was gallivanting in that area. Churro had peed on one of the tires of my car, and I went to get gas, and in an area where Churro was frequently and spreading his seed, and a cat that looked exactly like Churro walked up to the tire that Churro had peed on and was sniffing it like, "Dad, is that you? Where are you, Dad?" Like,
Dude.
I actually thought it was Churro for a second. I was like, how the fuck did you teleport to the gas station? And then like,
no, you have this nigger cat. Oh my God. It happened. Who is just going around impregnating all of these other and abandoning his spawn, and you're acting like it's a good thing.
He's like a Spartan. He's just making little kids that are left in the desert, and the ones that can't make it don't. And the ones that can are worthy of the Churro name, and they go out and destroy the wildlife in the in the area to great detriment to the ecosystem, and disrupt the whole balance of nature, and the fragile balance of nature in the desert by
whatever,
by hunting all the rodents and lizards and stuff.
Churro, we're coming for your balls.
He dragged the fucking lizard into the house the other day, like a big one. And
was it dead?
No, it was alive, and it was fast, and it got loose, and then it was just I couldn't find it. And a week goes by. I'm expecting to just like one day open a drawer or something. There'll be some dead fucking lizard, and it was a big one. A week goes by, and he chases it out of like this like walk-in closet type thing I've got. And I'm just like, there it is. How is it still alive? It's been in here a week without eating or anything like that. And I finally got it, and I got it out of the house. But
Churro.
yeah, he's a wildlife murderer. He kills everything.
Oh, my cat does too, to be fair.
All right,
There's dead birds outside my house all the time.
Oh yeah. No, birds. Well, you know what? I wish you would kill more quail, because there's just so many fucking quail out here.
They're so cute though.
They're so dumb.
Oh.
You know what I hate the most though? We have these doves out here. I call them trash doves, because they're just fucking trash. Like they're I mean, they're technically doves, but when they make they don't coo like doves. They go like that's the sound they make. And it's like it's all day long. It's just like and they make their nests in the stupidest places. Like, I mean, like the stupidest places where you need them to, and it's not because it's annoying, because like, oh, I wish I didn't have to hear all day. It's annoying because like I'll have like for example, I have a trailer so I can haul trash out to the dump because we don't have trash service, right?
Oh,
and
God.
and the day I'm gonna go haul the trash out, oh look, a trash dove has built a nest in the trash, and because I don't, and it's laid eggs in it, and because I'm a softie, I'm like, all right, I guess I'm just the the trash has to come out another way for like the next 6 weeks or however long it takes for your fucking trash baby to hatch. It's bad. Anyway,
I judge you, but in New York, I would like try to kick pigeons. I just hate fucking pigeons. I hate them so much.
yeah,
Sorry,
pigeons are
Black
no
Pigeon
fun.
Speaks. I hope you're not listening, but I hate them, and I wish that all city pigeons would just be eradicated.
Well, these things are basically they're the pigeons of the desert. I mean, they're no different. They look and sound kind of like them. They I mean, they're stupid. They die all the time. Like they're and you've not like you. I see one die at least like once a week in some like spectacular way. Like some boomer in an RV is just driving, down the freeway, and you just see like this exploding trash dove, like ball of feathers fly in the air because it just flew directly into it. While this boomer's
Idiot.
driving like 80 miles an hour,
Dude, I really hope Felix is not listening to this. He'll never talk to us again.
Yeah.
Ever.
I usually like the feathery friends, and look, I'm not mean. I don't go out of my way to hurt them, but like I do not like them. Or like there was this building I was trying to fix up, and all the windows, or not all, but some of the windows were broken out, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna seal up the windows. Oh, I can't, because a fucking trash dog built a nest right inside the broken window, and so if I seal it up, it'll be stuck in here and it'll die. And so what do? I leave the one window open for it so it can come in and out. What happens anyway? Well, apparently that wasn't the one it used as the door, and it couldn't figure out it was there, so it still got stuck in there and died.
Dude,
And
that's on,
they're
if you're
just-
too
yeah.
stupid to figure that out, then,
Yeah,
you deserve
and
it.
so anyway. So we got, all right, Real Starfish Prime says, Captain Stack, I mentioned last week you didn't read the early Golf Edition donations. I'll bring it up again in hopes that you will read them for next Insomnia stream. I looked for them, and I didn't see them. In fact, if you listen to the Insomnia stream from Sunday, I went through every single one that was in my history from that time, or maybe I didn't go back far enough. I'll tell you what. I'll double check again because I was under the impression that it was from. I'll double check again, but it might just not have gone through on my end because I did go back and look for some last stream. Astrolist 725, Naughty Mexicans says, who'd ever have suspected perv behavior from a conservo Jew priest? Some shekels may help feelings about that.
Oh, thank you. It does help.
All right, then we got Tomahawk says, don't remember if it was on this show or Insomnia stream, but I keep thinking about the guy who carried a machete and thought he was Jesus, and his parents were okay with it. Oh, that was Insomnia stream about the crazy people. Yeah. See, that's my point. And it makes you think that, like, well, because it is genetic, I mean, the parents are probably a little nuts too. It's just not as bad.
Yeah.
Let's see. Then we got Team White. Just says Team White. Then we got Jimbo Rockford says Blonde wants those with poor genetic qualities to choose not to have kids, except people of poor quality don't have the self-awareness to not self-sterilize. It will take force to keep tards from breeding. See?
That is 100% true.
Raises a good point there.
Yeah, I know. I mean, this is a delusional. I'm saying in a perfect world.
Yep.
In a perfect world, I want people to come to their own conclusions. But that's a remnant of my libertarian life that, I just have to get rid of. It's a hard thing to realize that you're going to have to force people to do stuff like this.
Well, and I think in the meantime, what you do, and obviously because we're nowhere near, in any position to like impose anything like that. So people that are losing their shit over it, come on, have an aspirin, sit down. It's not, I'm not going to be emperor tomorrow and force you to abort your retard baby that you're planning on having. But what we could do is we could have a lot of social pressure in the meantime. is we could incorporate that culturally, that this is a shameful thing to want to, have tard babies. So
Yeah.
it's not like this. It's so beautiful. He's a gift from God teaching us how to better ourselves by being a vegetable that we have to feed with a tube. All right.
That's the problem that I had with the Timothy Gordon video, because he was like, "Oh, this is no big deal. Like, we're super happy to have another, like, a baby in the house. Doesn't really matter what's wrong with her." I'm like, I don't understand that at all, because can't you talk about how this was devastating for you,
They're lying.
but you're dealing with it? I would be so devastated.
I think that's how they deal with it. I think they are in denial. They're like, no, actually, it's a good thing. And because think of all the lessons they'll be able to teach us. They'll teach us about like tolerance and nurturing and like I think that's what they do. And look, maybe on some level there's some element of truth to that, right? Like there always is, or usually is, with these kinds of copes, But at the end of the day, what's actually better,
Yeah.
So, all right, then we got Anti-Democracy Nada says, wanted to post this since I saw a chat about Jacob and Esau a few streams ago. Jacob is one of the most Jewish characters in the Bible. Jews like him because he's deceitful. The story is basically about a Jew tricking his older brother from his birthright. Jews view Esau as a goy and a champion Jacob stealing from him. In fact, Esau is Amalek's grandfather. The person and his tribe that Yahweh wants the Jews to genocide. So when these Christ cucks talk about satanic inversions, they need to explain how Jewy characters like Jacob aren't evil.
Interesting.
Oh, wait, it keeps going. Ask any I'm gonna say Christian. I don't like saying Christ cuck just because I'm trying to be nice. Ask any Christian about the book of Esther. They will justify court Jew Esther tricking the Persia king and killing the descendants of Amalek. You can make arguments that the New Testament is more morally sound, but the Torah, Old Testament, is Jewish morality through and through. I recommend reading From Yahweh to Zion on this.
I don't have the biblical literacy to even opine on this, which is embarrassing.
Well, I don't either, because I just think it's not real. But, I don't really have an opinion on it because I just don't believe in it. I think that it's just it's to a large degree. It's no different than like Greek mythology, just it's Jewish mythology instead of Greek mythology. All right. Then we got Jack85 says 91% are checking in. It feels good knowing who's in and who's out. As far as I'm concerned, this has always been a rule. I think instinctively. That's right. 91%ers for life. If you're not at least 91%, then then you get aborted. All right, then we get Yo Jimbo Rockford.
Okay, my house is getting worked on right now, and there's like a super cool Mexican guy, and he's been listening to Outlaws. I'm like, oh my fucking! He's like, no, it's really funny. I'm like, well, don't
all right, Pedro. This just so you know, I know you're listening. Abort.
No,
or,
I think he's here right now.
Or how about abortardo? How do you say it in Spanish? It's probably just aborto. I don't know.
Aborto.
I don't know. He's probably cool. There's cool Mexicans. They exist. People think that I can't be friends with Mexicans. I've been friends and I'm on friendly terms with Mexicans. I'm just I want them to have their own country that I can come visit and enjoy the beaches. Yeah.
Oh, I love going to Mexico.
Be decapitated by a member of the cartels.
No. I've only been to Cabo though, and let me tell you, like, it was it was awesome. It's like pristine beaches and amazing food, and everybody's family oriented and friendly. They were
Yeah.
treating my daughters like they were celebrities.
No, yeah, no. Here's the thing. There's bits about Mexican culture I really like, and I worked
Yeah.
for a Mexican media company where I was the only white guy in the building, and they included me in all their little, weird Mexican party things that they had. Like they had all these weird holidays I'd never heard of that were because it was like some weird Mexican thing, and it was fun. And I hung out with them all the time. Went to happy hour with them all the time. It was a great time of my life, and I liked all those guys. It's just
Yeah.
I didn't
Just gotta
like the
go back.
fact that there were so many of them in my country that we had to have a fucking Spanish speaking TV station that I worked at. So
Totally.
I was a little
No, I
irritated by that,
understand. Yeah.
but but I worked there.
Yeah.
All right, then we got let's see here. And also, why are you not hiring white guys to do the work on your home?
I do.
Doesn't sound
It's
like it.
just they've got one Mexican guy in the crew. I like my construction crew.
All right. So we got. We're gonna have a talk after the show.
No. You're constantly admonishing me.
All right, then we got Jimbo Rockford says, I remember when you were so anti-abortion, you were even against nig-abortions. Glad to see you come around on the nig-nog exception. To the anti-abortion stance, I still agree with your sterilization take. Yeah, like I'm not like pro, forcing nigs to get abortions. I'm just saying I literally see them as a different subspecies, and that's up. And if they want to do it, let them do it. I don't want any laws preventing them from doing it because I'm not a universalist. My morality it cannot be applied to black people. I mean, that's the whole point. I'm not a Christian where I think that like the rule, my laws, my values, my morality is equally applicable to all people of the earth. That's not true. I think that there is a moral code that white people should live by, that the whole reason why I am a white nationalist, other races can't always live up to that same code. And they shouldn't, and honestly, they shouldn't be held. Like, should we really be holding a population whose average IQ is 68 to the same standards of a population that has IQ of roughly 105 or whatever the average is,
Of course not.
110? I mean, so it's absurd to believe that they would even be capable of understanding the complexities of our morality in the first place. So if they want to abort all their babies all day long, I don't give a shit. That's their business, and I just don't really care. I don't think there should be a ban on it. I think when it comes to white people, it should be very, very. It should never be taken lightly. It should be very discouraged and shameful, and only in super necessary situations, and possibly those situations involve severe birth defects. I don't know. I feel like that's up to the people involved with those decisions.
I think that's a nuanced perspective.
Right. All right. So then we got Truth Forge says, did two things on X before I perma suspended recently. One, shared Patriot Front's site link, broke it up to get around X auto block. Two, I added to my bio, not any Abrahamic religion. Which one? He's asking which one got him banned.
Oh,
hang on.
Patriot Front, probably.
Can you do a couple? I got to do something for True
Sure.
real quick.
Truth Forger says, I just wanted to say thank you for all the work you two. You've changed my life. Oh, thank you so much. I'll tell Devin that when he gets back. That means a lot. It really does. It means a lot to me. Thank you so much. That makes my day. Two-ton Tony. First time catching a live with you. I'm anti-abortion with exceptions. You're right. However, when an exception exists, it will suffer abuse. Yes. That's why we need to have like a very fair analysis of this. And we're trying to do that. All right. Let's see. Jack 85. I have to counter signal the Asian love blonde. When I was 19, my mom bought a massage to an Asian ladies massage parlor who was in my mom's Bible study. She massaged and then offered a sex rub and tug. Okay. These are not your high tier Asians. Show me like a high tier Japanese person that does this. Those are like your Filipinos, your Vietnamese, and I have different opinions on them. All right. I'm talking about the Japanese, a select Chinese, the Mongol, love them. Let's see what else we got. Axelis, your sponsor, Antelope Hill, sells a book called Faith and Heritage. It's a phenomenal compendium on the accurate scriptural, historically understood Christian theology concerning ethnicity. Okay, check that out. It's called Faith and Heritage. You can buy it for Antelope Hill. Use code Outlaws10. Someone said that we changed their lives. Can you believe that?
How do we change their lives?
I don't know.
Did they abort a tard baby or?
Oh my God. What's wrong with you? Jeez.
Come on, that was funny.
It was funny. You're a funny man. Jack85, the biggest Asian import
No,
to America.
hold on. You didn't tell me. How did we change their lives?
He didn't say. He just said you changed my life. He said thank you and you changed my life. The biggest import to America is massage parlors, which are all just basic brothels. Sorry, blonde. These Asians coming into our countries aren't human, in my opinion. I just told you, it's like it's not the Japanese that are doing this. It's Vietnamese. It's Thai. You know, your usual suspects. Axelis says kin. It's been the doctrine of kinism. It's a doctrine never before needed because the biblical truth on ethnicity, race, and nation were taken for granted over the millennia in the same way. I like that. Maybe there's big biblical support to my worldview. Yojimbo Rockford, shekels for blondes, N-word slip. Congratulations. Sword of Christ is really good. Just be Christian and racist however you want with no fucks given about the contradictions or what people think. You know why I've never said it before? It's not because I was afraid. It's because I didn't want to be like one of those chicks that just says nigger on the internet.
Right.
I think
there's too many of
it's
those.
lame. It's low brow. It's opportunistic. I don't like it. And I was like, I'm not doing that. And also it's like showing your vagina on OnlyFans. It's like, where do you even go after that?
It's like tee-hee. I like Hitler.
Yeah.
Nigger.
I don't want to be like that. All right. I'm on Axelis. The founding fathers did not feel the need to define marriage in the Constitution to not include male butt sex enjoyers, but institutional software of Christianity, just like our legal system. Yeah, we didn't think that we were going to have all of these guardrails in place because we just assumed that everybody would kind of figure it out, or that the population would be homogenous. He also said academia, our financial systems, and all other Western institutions are captured and subverted, but most entirely.
Well, I would also say that sodomy was banned in every state. And
it was.
And in fact, even in California, in Los Angeles, of all places, up to the 1960s, they were doing raids on public bathrooms and arresting fags.
Yeah, that's
in
true.
the 60s.
Yep. Most entirely, but that does not mean that they are the problem to disregard Christianity. Axelis also says, let's see, because it is most completely cucked, is as unhelpful as disregarding English common law because it has become totally cucked. The problem is not the institutions, it's the Jews who have subverted the software in order to manipulate the hardware of white nations. Christianity is universal because God's law applies universally in the same way his nature or his natural law of gravity applies. That is an interesting way to look at it.
Well, I would say with all due respect, Jews wrote the software, actually. And no, they did. They wrote, I mean, who wrote the Bible?
Yeah.
You know? And so there's that. That's kind of a big deal. If you're gonna come play in my world and use software analogies, you know, use it correctly. And then as far as no, it's just that like I'm just get tired when people just start denying like reality about it. Like I'm okay if you want to be Christian and whatever. Like the other guy that was saying he's going to ignore the inconsistencies and contradictions. I don't agree with that, but okay, I can respect that. What I don't like is when people start acting like somehow it's the same thing that universalism, holding two people from like someone with a 60 IQ to the same standard as someone with 120 IQ is somehow equivalent to, well, an orange falls with gravity, so an apple falls, and so therefore universalism's good. It's like that doesn't make any sense. We're talking about things that are completely different.
But like there are natural laws that are universal. All natural laws are universal.
Not all natural laws are universal. because there's a lot of complexity involved with that too. Like think about
But the actual law, not how it affects
the law
individual.
itself in that, but like in terms of okay, if you think that if you drop a feather and a bowling ball off of a building, you're going to have the same result. I mean, that's universalism.
I'm not
And
talking about the
universalism
result,
would
though.
say,
I'm not talking about the result. I'm talking
well,
about
if you
the
don't care about
existence of the law.
results, then I guess universalism's great. I'm talking about results, and the result
Denise,
is not good when you have a universalist religion.
I actually agree with that. Denise the Celt says, Rebecca, racism is baked into Christianity. The seventh commandment states, thou shalt not commit adultery. To adulterate means not to mix elements that should not be mixed. Doing so destroys both. Bring it at me. Anything that I can use to justify my racist worldview while still being Catholic, that's what I need right now. Axelis also says, universally, Jews have twisted this to trick us into accepting, allowing, and even celebrating every depravity, while God sent his son to die for all our nations. He was very clear that even in the end times, excuse me, of Revelation, he intended for the distinct nations to remain. I believe that too. The same Christians who expelled the Jews and pogromed them countless times knew this and lived it. That's true, Devon.
What?
It's true that God wanted distinct nations to exist. I don't think that the multiculturalism was ever part of God's plan.
There's never a ban on mixing people of different nations. There's never a ban on that. There's nowhere is that talked about in the Bible.
But why do different nations exist naturally, though?
Because people migrated to different parts of the world and created different societies and different cultures and different evolutionary pockets. I mean, like,
but don't you believe that that's part of natural law and maybe God's law?
No, I think that a bunch of like monkey people walked to like different parts of land where there was better food and hunting, and then like thousands and thousands of years later, they were way different than each other. You know,
okay, Professor of Chaos. Hey guys, a future serial killer by the name of Thomas Martell was recently let go from prison on a supervised release for murdering kittens. Fucking insane. Although I do reject the term murdering when we're talking about animals. It's not murder. But I understand what you're saying. He's probably a real psycho and he probably is a future serial killer. Am I up to date on yours? Truth Forger. Oh, this is the guy that said we changed his life. Devon helped me see the exact nature of Hollywood subversion and realize race. Rebecca's racial journey is motivational, and she kept me from misogyny. I'm still a hafu who gets the oven, though. What's a hafu?
Maybe like a hapa.
A hafu.
I don't know.
Hafu. Well, I don't want you to go in the oven. Tell me what that means, though. Half what?
Are you reading the Rumble ones or are you reading YouTube ones?
Rumble.
Oh, okay. You're reading why is your audience over on YouTube we're cheaping out so much that
no, I actually have a bunch.
Gone, you ran out.
I just thought I would take some things off your plate. That's all. Retail Zoomer says the darker son looks like the mom and the priest. Maybe. Unwittingly.
Little Jew baby.
Yeah, unmoored. Civilizations rise and fall in the values they embrace. I believe a return to Christian principles and distinct cultural identities offers the strongest foundation for stability and a flourishing society. I agree, but we've got a real problem with Christian universalism, as Devon and I talk about ad nauseum. And so long as Christian institutions are pushing multiculturalism and miscegenation, like we can't. No. It precludes any devotion to existing religious institutions without major systemic reform.
Well, here's the problem, though. It won't happen for the same reason that you're not going to vote your way into having a white America again, because the vast majority of Christians worldwide are not white.
I know you're right, but it might be incumbent on us to change things, to at least try. At least try, Devon. Come on. Return to your Mormon roots. Believe in the magic underwear.
Hey, look, culturally, I love it. My whole extended, and I mean like for generations since Mormons have existed, my whole family's been Mormon. And so like, because of that, and because they've all relatively stayed within the church, like I'm probably related to like half of Utah. Okay. And I love it. I love those people. I feel right at home. There's like a vocabulary that they use that even like, I mean, not even like religiously, just Mormons have like I can sense when someone's a Mormon within like a few minutes of talking to them because they'll just say something a certain way. Like they'll use a word that's not usually used or something like that, but it's probably because it's like some word that's in the Book of Mormon repeatedly, and so Mormons just end up subconsciously saying that or something. And I'll be like, I bet that guy's a Mormon, and
Yeah.
they almost always are, and I
They call
like
you
it.
brother. And they're
Yeah,
not black.
yeah. Well, they're starting to be, but yeah, like I like it. Look, I don't have it's. In fact, I that's one of the things that I'm troubled by is that there isn't that white people don't have, in my opinion, something suitable to replace it with, and that is not an insignificant problem. So it's not that I have a problem with religious people. I rather like them, but it's I'm just I'm just I feel like the guy that it's like a bank will hire penetration testers to come and try to find vulnerabilities in their system. Surprised you didn't make a joke there. And
You do say
that
penetration a lot, I noticed.
well, and so like I just feel like I'm that guy that's like, hey, I hate to break it to you, but this software that you guys really like, there's like this gaping fucking hole. Okay, now I just said gaping hole. In your
That's penetrable.
that's easy to penetrate. This gaping hole. It's like a hot dog bouncing around in a wine barrel. So anyway,
Oh God. That's the second time you've used that analogy this week.
Yes.
So
I think about
my
it
friends
often.
are outside and they're just texting me to hurry up. Get wrecked, Hannah. Vincent says, keep up the show. Something to state for others listening, but voting won't fix our issues. Gain power by rebuilding it. Start businesses, acquire resources that generate energy, not just farming. Not just farming. We learned a few lessons last week. Laura Ferris says, mental health issues are extremely heritable. I regret not having kids younger now that I'm 40 and have my shit together. Also, like both of you, I was a bit wild when I was younger. Also, whammon. I understand that. I understand all of those things. Thank you so much. I think I have one more. Are we up to speed on yours? Oh, I got one more.
We got a couple more. We got Love and Division says, hey guys, tuned in late. We'll catch the replay. I can say any gay adoption is automatic child abuse. And then
Totally agree.
Rebecca Andrew Torba, the Gab founder, just wrote a book, The Christian Nationalist Vision. It's a very practical approach to white Christian civilization.
That's very helpful. I've heard that before. I should read it. I have one more left. Samuel says, you can twist anything to mean anything, including Christianity. The real question is, what kind of faction dominates the U.S. in the aftermath of the crisis period? It has to be ethnocentric. It has to.
Right.
On that, Devon and I can agree. Oh, I'm good. Sorry.
I'm also good.
Thank you guys so much for joining us for this very fun and depressing stream.
The end.
The end. Remember to go buy those books that we discussed on Antelope Hill. Use code Outlaws and you'll get 10% off. And we will see you next Wednesday. I am blondes_tweets on Twitter. I am Blonde in the Belly of the Beast on YouTube. I'm Blonde Beast on Rumble. I do another show with Cameron McGregor called The Reset. It is on Thursdays at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So I'm going to be doing that tomorrow. We are back after our trip to New York. I think that's all of my stuff. Devon? Hey,
all right. And you can follow me on X at black_pilled. And also you can go to blackpilled.com. Will take you to the Odyssey channel, but I'm probably going to change that to Rumble. For the Insomnia streams, we're right here. If you're watching right here, unless you're on YouTube, this is where it'll play on Saturdays, 10 p.m. Pacific time on Saturdays. So hope to see you guys there. In the meantime, you guys have a good evening. We are out.
Bye.
Bye-bye.